my calculations are correct, when this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious It has begun!
Calm down, Doctor. Now is not the time for fear.
Time to misbehave.
Give them nothing, but take from them everything!
Program complete. Enter when ready.
Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to Geek News, Reviews, and Opinions, the podcast where we talk the month's events in Geek for Friday night, February 3rd, 2023. I am your host, Adam Mickelson, aka Drac. I hope everybody has had an awesome day or night when you're listening to this, as well as an awesome holidays, because, well, we have to address this a little bit up front. We had some issues with being able to record the podcast around the holidays, and primarily, Brenton wasn't necessarily the issue there. It was primarily both me and Alex. But first, let me introduce our panel of fellow geeks, fellow YouTube creators, fellow awesome guys in general, and then we'll get into the problems. Starting with Brenton Volley of Brenton Volley Gaming. Well, once Brenton Volley Gaming, now you're just kind of your own deal. Brenton, how you doing?
Wow, I haven't heard that channel name in years.
Yes.
It caught me off guard there. I was like, wait, don't be saying things that I'm not doing.
Okay, all right. He's
I'm
totally
good.
not doing an OnlyFans channel. No, I'm kidding. He's not.
Oh my gosh, no! I'm going to grad school in August. Like that's about it.
That's the OnlyFans page. Is everybody gets to watch you study for grad school?
Oh my gosh, that would be so boring.
It's kind of like the podcast buddy Rising Sun says that, you know, basically he created an OnlyFans page, and yes, he does actually have an OnlyFans page, and it is basically the place where he will get political, which is like he never gets political. So like it's the political OnlyFans page. It's gonna stay blank forever.
I mean, if y'all want to watch me spiral into insanity because I hate school, by all means, I'll start an OnlyFans for people to watch me study in grad school.
Well, you know what? It wouldn't be the worst thing that I've seen be on OnlyFans. The worst thing that I've seen is the preschool teacher who was filming herself in lingerie in the classroom. That was creepy, and I wished I'd never seen it. But we are also being joined by Alex the Shadow Blazer. Alex, how are you doing this fine night in your Black Rose avatar, showcasing your dot hack know-how and how everybody should consider you the greatest source of dot hack knowledge?
Actually, it's Mimiru, so you're close. It's the same design, obviously, but it's Mimiru from Sign instead of Black Rose.
I get it, but it's the Black Rose design. So at that point, I'm killing two birds with one stone. And so really quick, what happened? We said we were going to do a podcast every month. Well, like I said, primarily Brenton wasn't really the problem there. I think he could have made it. It's just like things got maybe a tad busy for you during the holidays. It was mostly me and Alex. And for those who are returning listeners of the podcast, you kind of know why. But for those who are brand spanking new, first of all, welcome. We're very happy to have you. But Alex has the unfortunate duty around the holidays as he works in retail.
Yeah.
And therefore, he has to sign all the legitimate waivers to literally give his body to the cause. So at that point, you know, he needs to go and get all of the proper body armor and basically get ready to be run over by all of the grandmas that are going to be coming into a store. Which, correct me if I'm wrong, that's a correct assessment.
Not really. I mean, we are certainly busy in the holidays, right? And this year was no exception. But our customers are not like the savage kind of bust through the doors, because we don't do that kind of thing at my store.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you don't see that kind of chaos in my store like you would at a Walmart. So I'm very thrilled that I don't work at Walmart at the holidays.
But still, you had holiday hours, and then after that, you had post-holiday inventories and all that stuff.
Yep, and believe me, it was a crazy year. We had a ton of new merchandise that we had to put out, way more than our store of our capacity, our size, and our customer intake should ever have. So,
Because that sounds about right.
yeah,
You send all of the inventory to the store that can't carry it, and then all the stores that can carry it go, well, we already have too much at our end, and it turns out that they actually have some space.
yep,
That's just how that works. And then if people don't know this, I got a new job as a Amazon van driver, and I literally started a month before the craziest time of the year for Amazon drivers, because the holiday season be a bitch. You basically go from, a certain set of packages to double or triple that. And so I was literally coming home after I was doing like 50 hours a week straight for like a good 3 weeks. And yeah, there was just not enough time to be able to do the podcast, much less I was not going to have the energy. I was basically coming home to sleep and then going right back out to deliver. And thankfully, I got some good payouts out of that. But yeah, that's kind of why things were missing. And hopefully next year next holiday season, that won't be as big of a problem. But that way, ahead of time. But we are finally back to discuss not just November and December's biggest stories or biggest, most requested stories from you guys, but also to tackle a little bit of January, because there are some big stories in January that are still continuing into February. So we'll cover them then. That's a good way to lessen the load, isn't it?
yeah.
I think that'll work. I mean, some of them some of them are even carrying over from December, so I'm okay with this.
November.
Freak October, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
So at that point, let's go ahead and get into the big one that I know a lot of people wanted discussion from us on, which is kind of a 3-pronged kind of deal. It was the Game Awards 2022. Because we weren't able to talk about a lot of the nominees, but now we can talk the winners. And we can also talk the controversies and also some of the announcements that happened while we were there. And I'm going to go ahead and take care of the announcements first, because I'm not meaning to be rude, but there actually wasn't a whole lot for a lot of people. So we can just kind of burn through them.
Might as well.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and do that. First of all, we got the release date for Final Fantasy 16. Yay! I was very happy about that, which is June of 2022, or 2023. So, pretty much, you guys are going to hear this over the next couple of months. The summer is going to suck for me because I will just have way too many games to get into. And really, actually, Brenton, so are you going to pick up 16?
I will be picking up Final Fantasy 16.
You're going to be picking up Final Fantasy Souls?
It's produced by the same individual who produced Final Fantasy 14. So
Yep, they're branching them out.
So I have to play it. I have to know what happens.
No, and I've seen the trailers. I'm actually really excited for it, and kind of, especially now that I played Strangers of Paradise, and they actually did really good with that, since it's a Souls-like game. It really made me excited for FF16. But
yeah, I'm still willing to give it a shot.
Yep.
Even if it's not like the genre that I like.
Now, from Software fans, you got a very interesting announcement out of this, because for the longest time, it's been nothing but Souls games from Software. They are the Dark Souls makers. And a lot of people have been very upset by that, because they actually did make other games before Dark Souls, okay? And it just so happens that From Software officially announced at the Game Awards they will be bringing back an old property, that being Armored Core, which is basically a mech battle game. And so a lot of people were very excited about that. And able, like, I remember doing a stream like somewhere in between, and it was just Elden Ring for us, and they were just like, "Oh my gosh, Armored Core!" Because it's coming back now. If you could please bring back Tenshu, that'd be great too. We also had the announcement of Hades 2. If anybody here played the indie game Hades, this is actually not a huge surprise to me because Hades was just such a huge success a few years ago when it came out that I kind of figured a sequel was on its way. But I don't think anybody else has anything to say on it but me, since it's a roguelike.
Yeah, I don't really. I think you're.
I don't think you play roguelikes, do you, Alex?
I don't think so, no.
There you go. We also got the debut of Judas, which is the next game coming out from Ken Levine. And for those who don't know Ken Levine, he is the mastermind behind BioShock. And I believe he was also part of BioShock Infinite, but he was not part of BioShock 2. So at that point, we know where he's actually going, and it's going to be a first-person shooter that is going to give off a lot of BioShock vibes, but a very different setting from what we could tell. We also officially got the announcement of Death Stranding 2, or as I like to call it, post-apocalyptic Amazon van driver simulator version 2.0.
It's going to be great.
No, that's accurate. Yes. No, I saw the trailer for it, and I thought they had an interesting sell there. We'll see what happens eventually, but right now, don't really know too much. This is pretty much kind of the same way as the first Death Stranding, where we just don't know a whole lot of shit about it, and Kojima has been zip-lip about everything. We also had the new Star Wars Jedi Survivor trailer, which confirmed a March release at the time, but now it's been moved back to April, unfortunately, because they're looking to polish it. Blizzard fans, I guess, rejoice because Diablo 4 will be coming in June 2023 as well. And Street Fighter 6 will be debuting in June of 2023. That's what I'm saying. It's going to be a busy summer, but I don't think Street Fighter 6 and Diablo 4 are immediately on my docket, so I don't have to worry about those at least. And this one's going to be a little upsetting, but it's just because of one of the other stories we have to talk about. Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. If you don't know what that is, it's basically the next Arkham game. We had Arkham Knights happen, or what was it, Gotham Knights happen a couple of months ago, but this is going to be the successor after that. And they did actually say that the late Kevin Conroy did have a voice role in it. It's basically the last time he voices Batman. So if you want to hear that, then get that game, because that's going to be what you get. We also got a Mario movie trailer that caused a bit of controversy because apparently people are mad now that Peach is doing things other than getting kidnapped and being a damsel in distress. I don't know. Have you guys seen this trailer?
No, I haven't seen it. I didn't know there was a new trailer.
I've seen pieces of it.
I've seen everything that has come out.
Apparently, I've seen this. Like, there's a scene where Peach comes out in her bike suit from Mario Kart, almost kind of confirming that like Mario Kart's kind of part of the universe. But
which in one of the trailers at the very end, they are driving on Rainbow Road. So it's in the movie.
So at that point, I mean, but the problem that people had was that she was doing something, ultimately. I'm not kidding. There were whiners on Twitter who were basically, keep in mind, these are the same Voldemort supporters that got mad about Princess Peach constantly being rescued and constantly being a damsel in distress. And you got what you wanted, and you still bitched and moaned. I'm sorry, but the fuck?
I saw a lot of this as well. I thought it was a very interesting take on Princess Peach, but I also have to remember that this is another studio that's being given permission from Nintendo to tell a story using their intellectual property. Yep. And that means that they're
by the way, Nintendo has to greenlight everything. They are that anal about these kinds of agreements.
Exactly. And so essentially Illumination was given the green light, given the permission to interpret the Mushroom Kingdom, Super Mario World franchise IP in the way that they wanted to. And I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that Miyamoto or those in charge of that particular IP would have said no if they didn't like the whole, oh, Peach isn't just going to sit around and wait for Mario to come rescue her, but she's actually going to participate and defend her own kingdom as well. Like, they would have said no if that was not a good idea.
Yeah.
And I don't see anything wrong with this whatsoever. So I found it incredibly hilarious that there were just enough people that
I was laughing at all this shit. It was great.
yeah, like it was just so funny to see a bunch of people being like, no, she has to be a damsel in distress, or
but years
whatever the main
before,
argument was.
These were the same accounts that were saying, how dare she be a princess and a constant damsel in distress. Like,
yeah, so
I'm not kidding. I
point,
actually verified this. Like, several of those accounts had remarks like that, and it was just like, okay, then you just can't be satisfied. And I'm kind of glad that people pointed this out so that Nintendo and Illumination can see that, and they don't rely on Twitter for their decisions.
No, and I have no doubt of that at all, Adam. It really just became a scenario of let me pop some popcorn and just watch a community implode on themselves, because that's more entertaining at this point.
Yeah, it is literally the Michael Jackson gif from the Thriller music video, just constantly eating popcorn because of how dumb this was getting. But yeah, so that happened. And Alex, your thoughts about hearing about this?
Did we all forget the 90s movie where Princess Peach was kind of kicking ass and doing a lot of stuff? And
well, she technically wasn't Peach. That's usually the argument that I see. She wasn't Peach.
Well, she was the Peach of the era when she was still known as Toadstool, so counts anyway.
Yeah, but I think somebody was actually saying that her name was I can't remember this. I don't think her name was Peach, but I guess like her name was Daisy, so everyone's like, no, it was Daisy.
Is this the one where Mario and Luigi are from, like, are New Yorkers?
Yeah. Mario and Luigi Mario. Yeah.
The original live-action movie.
Right. I actually,
for kids.
1993, I actually just a couple of months ago during our holiday break finally watched this, because I was like, babe, we have to watch this. And he's like, really? And I'm like, yes.
Now that you've said that, I've had a very twisted thought. And that's a Geek News movie night on the original Mario movie.
I'll fun.
As a kid, I loved that movie when it was on the Disney Channel, so
okay,
I would watch it again.
Okay, well,
it wasn't Princess Peach or Toadstool, it was Daisy. So I could see hardcore fans saying that no, it wasn't Peach.
The way I remembered it is I thought the little dinosaur was named Daisy, but no, apparently the little dinosaur was actually named Yoshi.
So, that's correct.
But Daisy was supposed to be like her human adoptive name, but she was really supposed to be Princess Toadstool.
Yeah, she was supposed
to
be Princess Toadstool, but her name was Daisy. So everybody's justification was, no, that was Daisy, and they forgot that detail.
It's not the Daisy of the game, though. I'm pretty sure Daisy. I don't even know when Daisy came about.
But Twitter hates Daisy from the games because she's such a. I'm sorry, we can't say this word anymore. Tomboy.
Why can't we use that word anymore?
It's apparently anti-trans. It's so.
Oh,
you know what? Every word that I'm saying in this sentence is apparently anti-trans.
Well, I understand it. However, this is not the podcast to explain why. So, moving on.
It's people being douchebags. So yeah, that happened. We also got the first official trailer of Tekken 8. Yes, Tekken 8 is on the way, and actually, I will say, that was probably the most gorgeous trailer that they put up in the Game Awards, because they showed off what the game engine for Tekken 8 could do, and that was fucking amazing. It's way better than what Street Fighter 6 has been able to show recently. So, good on them, and who knows, Tekken 7 was technically one that I did buy, and then took back, but I might get Tekken 8. Tekken 8 actually looks really good. For me and Brinton, there was Horizon Forbidden West DLC. That'll be coming in April, and I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that if the monster in 2 doesn't show up, I might lose it. I might get a little mad.
The monster in 2?
Crap, what's his name? The Pharaoh monster.
Oh, the one that we didn't get to see?
Yeah, the Ted Pharaoh monster.
No, dude, it got swallowed up by the lava.
I don't care. It must survive.
Okay, well, I guess
it must be like Nemesis from Resident Evil. It must rise again.
Dude, the freaking DLC goes to like Hollywood. Like, that's not even remotely near San Francisco.
Not really, but it must live.
Oh my gosh, Adam. Okay, well, while you're disappointed in a corner, I'm just going to enjoy the game.
I'm going to be interested in it, and I'm going to go through it. But God damn it, I need that monster to show up at some point. I need to see what Ted Pharaoh looked like. I just need it. I'm still waiting for people to hack the code and be able to get into the room because I just need to see what that model looked like.
Oh, bless your heart.
The next one, this might be interesting for me and Brinton. Bayonetta Origins was announced. So basically, this is going to be an origin story, but I don't think it's actually being made by Platinum. They are handing it off to somebody else to do because it's more of a platformer now than an action like a hack and slash, but it's still very interesting to me, at least, to be able to actually do like a spin-off into Bayonetta's origins and actually explain some things. So I'll be very interested in that. We are also going to be getting a Hellboy game that is being made by crap, I can't remember the name of the studio, but it's Hellboy Web of Weird, and it's basically the engine is built into the comic book style, so it's going to look like the Hellboy comics, which everybody was very excited to see because the Hellboy comics are awesome. Like, even I've got to admit, they look real good. So if you're going to make a game in that format, it's going to look even better. Baldur's Gate 3 did get announced for all of the RPG fans. The next big one that I know we are going to have an interest in is, or I need to talk about this actually. I got a lot of people asking me about my opinion on Dead Cells' return to Castlevania. Yes, Dead Cells, the popular game, is going to be getting Castlevania DLC. I'm totally excited about it. You actually will get Alucard and Richter Belmont as basically AI support in the game, and I think they even added a Dracula boss fight into it, so yes, very excited. I don't think it's out yet, but I will definitely get back into Dead Cells to go play that and have some fun with it. The other big one that nobody saw coming was EA is now officially going to be challenging Capcom's Monster Juggernaut in Monster Hunter. They announced Wild Hearts, which is going to be their version of a Monster Hunter game, and I think it's set for this year or 2024, one of the two, but it's going to be the exact same thing as Monster Hunter. Go and kill huge, unbelievably looking monsters and be able to take the resources and be able to make gear from it and all that stuff. I found that was interesting because EA is basically, I kind of think they're barking up the wrong tree because Capcom has been doing this for so long. And by that, I mean, like, Monster Hunter is a big craze in Japan, and EA has made it very clear that they want to focus on the Japanese market for Wild Hearts, which I'm not sure how well that's going to go. They've got a dedicated Monster Hunter fan base, but if you guys have seen the trailer for it, it actually looks really good. And hopefully EA has brought their A game for this. Otherwise, it's going to suck.
We're just going to have to wait and see, you know?
A broken Monster Hunter game is not going to be fun for anybody in that regard. So those are a lot of the bigger announcements that happened. Let's get into the freaking winners. Or actually, we do have some controversies to get into. I'm wondering, should we get into that first? Because part of the controversies is the winner. Yeah, let's do this really quick. So there was a bit of controversy that happened when they announced the nominees for it, and specifically the Game of the Year nominees. And we talked about this a little bit when we covered it, but overall this became a big deal with the Game Awards, and a lot basically was the talk of the town on Twitter, Reddit, all of the major platforms. The fact that God of War Ragnarok at that time, which had been out for 2 weeks, was competing against Elden Ring, which had been out since March. It had been competing with Horizon Forbidden West, which had come out in February. It was competing with Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which, by the way, congratulations to Hidetaka Miyazaki. Or, wrong guy.
Wow, Adam.
Oh, God damn it.
I am disappointed.
now I feel really bad. But the Xenoblade creator, major props to, because he basically had the first ever JRPG as a nominee for Game of the Year. And there's a little bit of a controversy with that too, but we're talking a bunch of games that came out and were successful throughout the year. And they were competing against the new hotness that literally had come out two weeks before and had the press train firmly behind it. And so the controversy, so to speak, is that if this game wins, does it really win? Because it basically got all the press compared to the other games, and the fact that should a game that's literally been out for 2 weeks be competing with games that have been out for most of the year? And just in case we're getting some new listeners, go over you guys' thoughts on that. Let's start with Alex. What were your thoughts about God of War Ragnarok competing with all of these other big titles?
Yeah, I do see the issue with it. It is that kind of a recency bias kind of thing. And
yes,
we've seen this with now most other awards, like if you think of like the Oscars or the Emmys. I'm not sure actually about the Emmys, but we'll just go with the Oscars because it's an easy example. So like for Oscar qualification, for the most part, there can be special exceptions, but for the most part, it's like January 1st through December 31st. And then the ceremony's held in either February or March, depends on scheduling. So that gives a pretty ample time for a lot of movies to be noticed and campaigned to for the Academy, right?
I actually think it might be like February 1st to December 31st, because a lot of those January movies, like the artsy January movies, they make it into the current Oscars that year. But I might be wrong.
Sometimes they do, but usually those ones tend to have like a very small screening in like LA or New York beforehand, like back in December before they go wide in, say, the early months. But you're right, sometimes that can happen. Like I said, the schedule can be flexible. Depends on what the Academy needs to do that year, either to broaden the pool of nominees or to account for special circumstances.
But that's that's kind of part of the controversy here, is they have a cutoff. And the Game Awards definitely don't.
Yeah, I don't know what the Game Awards, calendar essentially looks like, but considering they hold it, then they essentially hold it within the same year that they accept the nominees.
Yeah.
Granted, there can be slightly older nominees, but that's because games are complicated, obviously.
And at that point, like, Jeff Keighley has done numerous interviews. And for those who don't know, Jeff Keighley is the guy who created the Game Awards. And so at that point, like, he's gone on the record numerous times basically saying that it's not really an award show, even though everybody treats it like that. It's more of a glorified popularity contest, which does explain it, but then you can't act like it has prestige, Jeff.
Yeah, for real. But yeah, that's kind of the problem if you're going to do that, do the ceremony and the nominations of the same year or within the same year and a half.
You can't do that.
Really, you either got to, I think, broaden the pool, either, like I said, the Academy standard of start of the year to the very end of the year, or you got to have like a cutoff within months of your ceremony date.
Yeah,
right?
And what's sad is, like, a lot of people are treating this as if this is a one-time deal. No, mother effers, it isn't. I remember a year where another big game that was a game changer in the industry was going up against Grand Theft Auto, which had pretty much all of gaming journalism backing it with 10 out of 10s that it did not deserve. And it was going up against that. And you want to take a wild guess who won that year?
Grand Theft Auto?
Grand Theft Auto 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
the
new
broken
project.
mess that everybody hates.
Yeah. And changing gears just a slight bit on a similar topic of this year's Crunchyroll Anime Awards, which is coming real soon, by the way.
Oh, did they do the same thing?
No, well, that's been a problem in the past. This year, it looks like they've kind of tried to course correct a little bit.
Okay.
And so this year, they kind of set the cutoff at about the summer season. So no current
That
fall
does kind of make
shows.
sense, because summer kind of is where things die out in Japan. Because I think they heavily emphasize vacations and stuff like that in Japan. So at that point, they know people aren't watching.
Yeah, so this year's awards actually kind of cut off about then. So none of the current none of the shows from fall are currently eligible. They'll be eligible for next year.
Yeah.
So that kind of saves on the recency bias. And we have seen the recency bias problem in years past with the Crunchyroll Awards. Everybody remembers when Yuri on Ice kind of swept the awards because Yuri on Ice was so recent too.
Yes.
Right? So it kind of shut out a lot of the competition because it kind of was the new hotness at that time.
No, I didn't know necessarily about. I knew Yuri on Ice won awards, but I didn't know it was a clean sweep for it. So at that point, but this has got such an easy fix because, you just pointed out in the anime industry, they basically pick what a lot of. I'm guaranteeing you that a lot of those animation companies basically consider that kind of the end of their fiscal year. So then at that point, all of their efforts from the previous year can be calculated and be able to be shown to the upper management. So at that point, even the Oscars kind of run off of that by trying to at least somewhat mirror the box office fiscal year. Why not just do that with the Game Awards and have them mirror the gaming industry in that regard? Because usually what happens is the end of the year, at least as far as the gaming companies are concerned, is like the end of or the middle of March. So at that point, then you have a clean date where, okay, everything beyond from this point to this point is competing against that fiscal year, not having to worry about the next fiscal year. And oh, by the way, a holiday title to boot. So that's kind of my viewpoint on it. Brinton, anything you want to add in onto this?
No, I think you guys summed up a lot of what I would have already stated anyway. I think that there should be a cutoff because I feel that it is ridiculous. And I've said this before, that a game that came out 2 weeks before the Game Awards should even be remotely considered for a Game of the Year when it hasn't even been given a full year to even find that determination. Out of the nominees for Game of the Year, I feel that the ones that truly had any competition against each other was truly Elden Ring, Horizon Forbidden West, and Xenoblade 3.
I mean, for crying out loud, like, as far as I'm concerned, Elden Ring was the winner last year because it was the most consistent seller throughout the year. In fact, a lot of people would make this argument. I would be one of them too. Elden Ring sold the Steam Deck. It really did, because everybody in line for the Steam Deck, the first thing they want to try in the new hotness was Elden Ring. And guess what? That shit worked really well. And so at that point, like, it was the standard bearer for most of that year. And the gaming industry basically just said, oh, we're happy that this is the standard bearer, but look at this new hotness. Obviously, it's breaking all kinds of boundaries. And no, it's not. Like, I haven't even played God of War Ragnarok. I can tell you it's not breaking a whole lot of boundaries in the gaming industry. Maybe it, like, financial barriers, fine, but is it doing anything new and unique and out of the box? I'm gonna guess no. And Brinton's the one who's probably played it. Am I right or wrong?
Elden Ring?
Oh no, God of War Ragnarok.
No, I actually haven't even purchased it yet.
Okay.
So I I know
I'm
nothing,
pretty
and
much
I've completely
guaranteeing
avoided the
you
game.
I'm pretty much guaranteeing you God of War Ragnarok probably is just polishing the systems that God of War 2018 had. That's pretty much what it was doing. Elden Ring had Jiminy Christmas. It's as close to a Souls MMO as we've possibly gotten. So at that point, like, there was a lot there.
Yeah, I mean, when it won, I wasn't even mad
Yeah.
because I felt that it was well deserved. If honestly, I think the two games that deserved it were Xenoblade and Elden Ring, because I would say that Horizon Forbidden West was very similar to the statement you just made about Ragnarok, where
Yeah.
it was just a cleanup and a polish of the systems that were already in place from the previous game. And that polish made Forbidden West an incredible playthrough,
Mhm.
but I don't feel that it really deserved like
No,
Game of the Year title.
because Gorilla, you need to figure out. Okay, somebody needs to be fired over at Gorilla on figuring out release dates, because Horizon 1 competing with Breath of the Wild, Horizon 2 competing with Elden Ring. Okay, fire that guy. Let's figure out another time to be able to put out Horizon games.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, the first time I was like,
I remember
oh,
texting you on it because you didn't remember that Breath of the Wild came out shortly after Zero Dawn. I was like, oh yeah,
no,
that happened. You were like, what?
no. I did remember
Oh, okay.
because
okay.
I played like an hour of Zero Dawn and then put
went
that
right
down
to
for
Breath
a
of the
couple
Wild.
of months because of Zelda.
Yeah.
So when Zero Dawn came out, it was very much like my thoughts were, oh wow, that's inconvenient.
Yeah.
Like that's too bad. I wonder if they meant to do that on purpose.
Yeah. Whoever figures out release dates at Gorilla, you need to be fired.
And now flash forward 5 years later, I see this happen again, and I'm like, was that really on purpose now?
This is now the
That's a
equivalent
little
of
too
fool me once,
coincidental.
this is the equivalent of fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
And for anybody who's finished Forbidden West, it's very evident that there's going to be a third game.
Yes.
So it's like, come on, Gorilla, don't do this to yourselves for a third time. Like,
in fact, the guess is that Burning Shores, the DLC for it, will, much like with what was it, the Frozen Wilds, it will be a setup for what the goals are going to be in Horizon 3. So I'm actually happy about that.
I'm really looking forward to Burning Shores, especially since it's going to take place in my hometown.
And now because you brought it up while you were making your point, Brinson, let's get into the other big controversy that I saw a lot of people whining about, and I'm gonna say whining because I engaged a lot of these people. Xenoblade shouldn't get a best of the year award. It's a JRPG. Obviously, they have their own category. Yeah,
that literally makes no sense.
So, oh no, it gets better. So,
I'm listening.
So by your logic, Elden Ring, Horizon Forbidden West, God of War Ragnarok, Stray, and Plague Tale should all be disqualified because at least 3 of those, I'm going to say 2 to 3 of them solidly, are action games, and there's a best action game.
Oh my gosh.
Hey,
I mean, I don't agree.
Sometimes if a JRPG does well enough to get a Game of the Year nomination, maybe that's because it was a kick-ass game. I don't know. Just spitballing here.
I mean, if people are going to start making claims like that, then I'm going to bring that to like the Oscars or any other awards ceremony, because then why have like the best, like why have like film of the year, anime of the year, game of the year? Like, why even have that category if people are going to start being like, well, there's this best category of the year. Like, okay, then let's get rid of like the best whatever of the year then.
And by the way, congrats to Tetsuya Takahashi, now that I fixed my problem.
Oh my gosh, Adam.
Timothy Christmas, I don't know. We were talking about Elden Ring, that's why it happened.
Oh my god.
But yeah, like, okay, if Pokemon, like, let's just say Pokemon Legends Arceus was just that kick-ass of a game that it got a Game of the Year nomination. Would that not be deserving of a Game of the Year nomination if it was like selling like hotcakes like Elden Ring did? Of course it would deserve it, especially since like Pokemon Legends Arceus changed a lot of the Pokemon formula. So at that point, you know, there are other reasons to be able to say that it deserved that Game of the Year nomination. Same thing could be said of Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I don't see how it being a horrible, forbidden JRPG forbids it from being a Game of the Year nomination. I just don't. And so I actually was arguing with these people left and right because like some people were mad primarily because Xenoblade got a nomination and insert their favorite game didn't. Well, sorry, that's the way the ball bounces. I don't know what to tell you. You know, like there's nothing I can do about it, but to say that it doesn't deserve it because there's a JRPG category is the dumbest argument you could ever make. And at that point, we shouldn't have a Game of the Year at all because we already have all those categories. So like, how do you determine like who was the outlier? Who was the one that basically broke all of, or, you know, went out of the box and changed the industry for the better? Like, for example, Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice. We played this game, Alex.
Yes.
It was a Game of the Year.
Yeah, very good game.
Did it deserve that?
I say so.
Absolutely it did. And so at that point, if it had been competing with, I don't know, Persona 5, does that mean Persona 5 is unworthy? No, if Persona 5 did a ton of things different like Hellblade did, sure, put it in the list. Like, to me, I already could tell you that Xenoblade wasn't going to win, but the fact that it got a nomination is more than enough praise for Monolith Soft and Tetsuya Takahashi and Nintendo. And so at that point, because it got nominated, guess what, boys and girls? When you get nominated, your sales go up.
Yeah.
So
just remember the original Xenoblade. It took a fan campaign just to get it to leave Japan, right? So the fact that it's come
that like
so
this
far
was
as
actually,
a franchise.
This was actually one of the things I heard. Some people were pissed that Bayonetta 3 didn't make it. And they thought that the reason it didn't make it was because of all the controversy. No, it for some reason didn't, even though God of War Ragnarok did. And I actually got into an argument with somebody like, no, Bayonetta 3 deserved it, not Xenoblade. Sales figures would say otherwise. I know that Bayonetta 3 was a big was a big pre-order for Nintendo, and they're very happy about that. But Xenoblade, sorry, was bigger. And by the way, since we were talking about this with Bayonetta, it was a niche title. Xeno is way more niche than that. As Alex just pointed out, it took a campaign to bring it from Japan because I can't remember if Nintendo was on board at that point, but they just literally looked at it and went, yeah, we just don't think this is going to work for the US market. We'll keep it in Japan.
Yeah.
It took that.
Yeah, this franchise has really come a long way since then. That was what, 10 years ago, probably?
He doesn't deserve it because he's got the chicks with the really big boobs.
Well, how has that ever stopped any nerd
right
in this country?
Right? Like, come on, people. I mean,
there's enough straight perverts in this country who appreciate that.
I think they're just perverts all around, Brenton, honestly. Like, I've seen plenty of stuff that would basically be considered porn for God of War Ragnarok and Horizon by now. So, I mean, like, literally there are people, if you remember the pictures that were coming out of Tracer and Widowmaker from Overwatch, they were doing that with, oh crap, what's her name from Horizon? She's the last one you recruit. Her and Aloy. Or Aloy and her twin. Just like,
oh, that's creepy. But I wouldn't mind seeing anything Kratos related.
I'm sure you wouldn't mind, but then you'd also have people objectifying the fuck out of Freya. And it's just like, sorry guys, like, that's the internet. I'm not happy with it either, but, you know, she got boobs, and that means she's probably attractive to somebody. So yeah, that was like the two bigger controversies out of it, is that Xenoblade apparently didn't deserve the nomination, as well as I also saw some people saying Stray didn't deserve it. And usually those were the people that didn't even know what Stray was. And for those who don't know, Stray was like a big indie success from Annapurna Interactive. So at that point, like, to say that didn't deserve it, yeah, F you too. Like, that's absolutely stupid. That's as stupid as saying that, I can't remember what it was called, but the same people that made It Takes Two, it was the getting out of jail game. That one got nominated, and apparently that wasn't deserving either. Are you kidding me? So let's actually get into the winners here at this point. So obviously, Elden Ring is Game of the Year. And you know what? Deservedly so. As much as I liked Horizon Forbidden West, and I haven't gotten into God of War Ragnarok, I played a little bit of Stray, and Stray's pretty good. Elden Ring did deserve it. It was a game changer in the Souls platform, in the Souls genre, and so at that point, it did deserve that praise, and Hidetaka Miyazaki did deserve the praise for making it. So much so that they also got the best game direction, pretty much competing with God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, and Stray again, as well as Immortality. But, unfortunately, it wasn't a clean sweep, because Best Narrative went to God of War Ragnarok. Again, shouldn't have been competing in this one, and it did take away a lot of those. In particular, and guys, I'm not saying anything bad about Ragnarok. I'm saying it should have gone up for nomination next year, because it would have made sense. But, for example, we got Christopher Judge, who won, going up against Ashley Burch for Horizon Forbidden West. So at that point, I mean, good on Christopher Judge. I think he does really great as Kratos. But, yeah, it really doesn't feel like he should have been competing here. So the other one that we got was Best Indie Game was Stray. So Annapurna did get that, as well as the Best Debut Indie Game went to Stray. So I have a feeling, Alex, we probably are going to have to play this. I already know a few people have suggested it.
Yeah, we could definitely give it a try.
Yeah, so just to see what the hell it's all about. Best Action Game did go to Bayonetta 3. I didn't know this one, but it was going up against Shredder's Revenge. That hurts. Oh, it was going up against Sifu as well, and Sifu was another good action game that came out in the actual fiscal year. They need to fix this, is what I'm saying. It really doesn't feel right for Bayonetta to be competing with Shredder's Revenge, which has been out all year, and we've played it, and it's amazing!
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Holy shit, I've seen Die Hard saying Turtles in Time is like the greatest beat-em-up of all time. Play Shredder's Revenge and go, holy shit, we have a new number one. So that's how good it is. Best Action Adventure Game obviously went to God of War Ragnarok. Best RPG went to Elden Ring instead of Xenoblade, which is irritating, but there were a lot of good contenders in the Best RPG category this year. Elden Ring, Live Alive, Pokemon Legends Arceus, Triangle Strategy, and Xenoblade. Like, that's a good RPG lineup for an RPG fan like myself. That's great, as far as I'm concerned. Another one that I need to point out, and people are going to get mad at me for saying this, Best Fighting Game should not have gone to Multiverses. I know people are going to be butthurt about that, but I've played Multiverses, as well as the Nickelodeon one, and I don't think they're huge game changers in the Smash-alike contest here. They pretty much play like Smash. So there's really not anything to make them distinctly different than Smash. So at that point, saying that Multiverse won against DNF Duel, which was basically going into a completely new genre. For those who don't know, DNF Duel is based off of, I think it's Dungeon Fighter Online, a mobile game. And they took the characters from that mobile game and put them into a fighting game. And it actually turned out to be amazingly balanced. So much so, it gave King of Fighters 15 a run for its money. Okay, I'm the fighting game fan, so I'm the one that cares. But that it did irritate me a little bit. I get that people like multiverses, but I tend to want to go towards the ones that were game changers, and DNF Duel was the one that was the game changer as far as I'm concerned.
No, I agree with you, Adam. I'm
Yeah.
just not. I'm just obviously not as vocal as you have been about it.
Yeah.
It's Multiverses is a weird game. I feel that it is somebody who sat down and was like, Smash Brothers isn't giving us what we really want, so we're gonna make the fighting game that everybody really wants. And it's like, okay, well, this is just really dumb.
And it's not. Like, at least the Nickelodeon one was basically saying, yeah, we're all fans of Smash games, and we want to be able to do this with the Nickelodeon properties. And you know what? They work in a weird way because you have those serious elements, like Legend of Korra and Avatar, but then you also have things like Rocko's Modern Life or Ren and Stimpy to be able to make it like a Smash deal. And Multiverses just was like, okay, we own all these properties, and some of them work and some of them don't. We're gonna put Gandalf in with Arya from Game of Thrones. Okay, whatever. It didn't work out as far as I'm concerned, but that's okay because now we need to get into Alex's favorite award of the Game Awards, and that is the Nintendo Award or Best Family Game. Why do I say that it's the Nintendo Award? Because here are the nominees: Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope, Nintendo Switch Sports, Splatoon 3, Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga.
Yeah, it's the Nintendo Award.
It's the Nintendo Award. Nintendo pays for this one. And it went to Kirby and the Forgotten Land. So congratulations to Kirby. Very happy for you. I also have seen some people get mad that Gran Turismo 7 got the best sports or racing game because Gran Turismo 7 came out very broken. So much so that they had to do a lot of patches when it first came out. But that's the way it went. Best multiplayer game went to Splatoon 3. Really, it should have gone up against Shredder's Revenge. Should have won that one. And they were going up against Overwatch 1.5. Sorry, 2. Multiverses and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Okay. And then, yeah, at this point, we go into a lot of the esports ones. But most anticipated game. This was another one that was a very clear winner. So I'm going to let you guys figure it out. The nominees are Final Fantasy XVI, Hogwarts Legacy, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Starfield, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
I'm looking at it, so I was going to let Alex very much make a guess. Which you did.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Yeah, it's Zelda. Obviously, Zelda won. But it would have actually been a little funny for Hogwarts Legacy to win, but you guys will find out why later. Best adaptation went to Arcane from Netflix. So at that point, the Netflix League of Legends adaptation was the winner there, and it was going up against Cyberpunk Edge Runners, The Cuphead Show, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and the Uncharted movie. Why on earth did the Uncharted movie even get a nomination? Because from what everybody has told me, it is way below what we all love about Uncharted. So at that point, I mean, overall, it actually was a good rollout for a lot of these games. A lot of them got to be able to have their time in the spotlight, but I am a little irritated that games like Bayonetta 3 and God of War Ragnarok, which came out very recently, took away from that. Because I mean, I'm gonna say it. Ashley Birch did in my opinion, a better job in Forbidden West with what she had to work with. I'm sure Christopher Judge did a great job, but I think that needed to be acknowledged because if people don't remember, Ashley Birch didn't win for Zero Dawn either, and she was fairly good on that. No, she lost to the girl who played Senua, and so at that point, it's like,
oh yeah, that's completely fair.
Yeah,
her performance was amazing.
Well, and in my opinion, in Forbidden West, it was better because then at that point you didn't have a whole lot of the in my opinion, the mopey writing that they had with Aloy's character that eventually you had to have Silence come in and smack her upside the head, which is why I love that character so much. And now I'm so glad he's an maybe ally? Maybe not. I don't care. He's still pissed that Resident Evil didn't work out, though, but Oh well, what are you gonna do? So final thoughts on the Game Awards. Was there anything that you wanted to see go differently?
Not particular.
No, no. One that you didn't mention, which I find funny because
What
you
did I miss?
started playing. Well, you started playing this game. Final Fantasy 14 getting best community support and
Yes, and it
best
also got
ongoing game.
best ongoing game. It's difficult to go into those because I'll be honest, like FF14 has been going on for a while, and so like when I look at the ongoing games, I'm like, okay, well, but they're also financial successes, and is like, okay, well, I mean that's good. I'm happy for you. I'm glad you beat Fortnite. You know,
Well, yeah, that's the whole point I want to make is that
you
it's
beat
going up
Fortnite and
against
Apex Legends. I'm happy about that.
me. Like I just because it's like okay, there's like two oh my gosh, I completely
I'm
forgot
actually
what
surprised
the
World of Warcraft Dragonflight wasn't in this list, by the way. What, did they not pay
because
enough? Did they not bribe them enough?
I I don't know, but I love how Final Fantasy 14 beats Fortnite out twice because I feel that the rewards are incredibly deserving
No, seriously,
to
tell us what you think about Fortnite.
I I just don't see what the excitement over
That's
it
okay.
is.
Neither does this podcast.
I forgot what the genre is called because I haven't talked about
It's
it in years.
uh
Battle Royale. There we
Battle
go.
Royale, yeah. Because it's also in there with Apex Legends and well, Anthem was supposed to be part of that. It didn't really work out.
No, I don't think Anthem should be rewarded for anything.
Well, yes. And it isn't, by the way, because I think they already shut down the servers. So there you go. So there you go. Let's go ahead and move into the next major story that we had, which I find it funny that we're going into or I don't find it funny. I find it very difficult because we're going from a bunch of hilarious topics to really sad ones. And I was especially sad because these are titans of 90s TV that unfortunately passed on. And we're talking about the passing of Kevin Conroy and Jason David Frank, who were literally, I want to say, a week away from each other. So, for those who don't know, Kevin Conroy is the voice of Batman. He's the most recognized voice of Batman, and known for Batman the Animated Series, Justice League, even Arkham Asylum. And unfortunately, he had kind of a similar situation to Chadwick Boseman, where he got an aggressive form of cancer, and he kept quiet about it. But he still honored all of his commitments and made sure to be able to go to all the cons and everything like that. And then, unfortunately, since it was an aggressive form of cancer, he lost his life not soon after. And so, unfortunately, yeah, the passing of Kevin Conroy hurt the industry as far as I'm concerned because of just how many, not just the lives of fans that he's touched, but just the people he's worked with as well. Kevin was a good guy, and unfortunately, like, especially in the voice acting industry, there can be a lot of jerkwads. And Kevin Conroy was one of those few people that like did everything in his power at convention appearances to be nice and welcoming to all of his fans and to fulfill as many requests as he possibly could, considering that he was, up there in years. But I can definitely tell you he will be missed. And let's just go over Kevin Conroy first, and then we can tackle JDF. But what was you guys' take when you heard about the passing of Kevin Conroy?
I don't really have a whole lot of opinions on this one, unfortunately.
Did you
So
not watch
Alex,
Batman the Animated Series?
no, I did not watch
Oh,
Batman the
really?
animated
Okay, well,
series. No.
all right. Did you play Arkham Asylum?
It's been sitting in my backlog for like the last 5 billion years. So
Okay, yeah, you really don't have anything to say about Kevin Conroy, I guess.
I mean, my condolences to his family. May he rest in peace, etc., etc. That's about as wow. That sounded really, really insincere. So I'm just gonna stop talking now.
Yeah, your thoughts, Alex.
Well, I don't have as strong of attachment with Kevin Conroy. While I certainly did kind of grow up with Batman the Animated Series, my watching of it was more sporadic because I was pretty young when that show was really in its prime.
Yep.
So it's more like, okay, unless you know what time it's on, I'm probably not going to be able to see it. So, but I definitely can remember some of his performances as Batman fondly. Uh, outside of Batman the Animated Series, there was the anime anthology Gotham Knight, which I
Which he
do
did
remember much
a
more.
couple of those, didn't he?
He did the whole thing,
Oh, he
actually.
did all of them? Okay, I couldn't remember
Yeah,
if he did them all.
yeah. He was Batman for every one of those little short segments, even the one where Batman looks more like a traditional Bishonen anime character.
You
Uh,
like bringing up this meme a lot.
yes, I do. Um, But it is just kind of a funny story. I bring that up because I know that because Batman looks so much more young, a little more Christian Bale-esque in that segment, that the producers had considered maybe changing out the actor for somebody to sound a little younger, but Kevin Conroy really wanted to do it, so they still
Yeah,
let Conroy do it. Uh, but fun fact, in Japanese, they actually did switch out the voice actor.
they
But
did
there you
actually,
go.
yeah. They did.
But yeah, and we played through at least one Batman Arkham Asylum game.
Yes. We will get
So
back to those. It will happen.
yeah,
Even though I've
so
heard that Arkham Knight and Gotham Knights aren't that great. I don't care. We're gonna get through them so that we can do Suicide
yeah.
Squad.
Well, I do know that he was an amazing actor, and
Mhm.
yeah, he was a great Batman for the voice and for being on the character for so long, coming back here and there for new projects every so often. Just as iconic as Mark Hamill's Joker.
Yep. I will tell you the thing that killed me because I was just barely starting up my new job when Kevin Conroy passed. And the thing that got me ultimately was a oh crap, what's the service called that they do where you pay like $25 and they'll do like a celebrity call for you.
Cameo.
Cameo. Yeah, he did a cameo for somebody who their family was getting over the death of a loved one who had perished to cancer, and so they decided to share it where he was like, I totally understand where you're coming from. I've been around to see both my mom and dad pass away, and I think one of them was to cancer. And like basically just trying to relate to that person, but then also giving them what they wanted, which was for him to say, insert the I am vengeance, I am the night, I am Batman quote that usually people want him to say. And that's
Mhm.
that's in a lot of cases again why I appreciate Kevin Conroy amongst a few others, because they go out of their way to be human for people. And that was it's a breath of fresh air compared to like some of the other people in the industry who can tend to be a bit douchebaggy. I'm not going to name names, but like you hear stories about them at cons and they are like just douchebags to the
Yeah.
audience. So like hearing the passing of one of those guys as a solid example, it hurt. I know it obviously hurt Mark Hamill quite a bit because if you guys haven't seen the news recently, he has officially announced that since Kevin Conroy has passed, he will officially be retiring the mantle of the Joker. And his reason being is that he just he literally came up with like a Joker line for it. Without Batman, it just isn't fun anymore,
Yeah.
which is just appropriate. And you know what? This one I think is going to stick. I know he's retired from the Joker like 5 times, but I think this one is going to stick because I do know that when he was asked to come back to be the Joker, he was always going to be asking, "Is Kevin going to be there?" Because he always looked forward to being able to bounce off of Kevin. So that one's disappointing. But the next one that we have to talk about, I think, hit harder, and that was
Mhm.
the passing of Jason David Frank. For those who don't know who he was the first ever sixth Ranger in Power Rangers. He was the Green Ranger. Um, and a lot of people remember his debut, which was he was basically a villain ranger for a big five-parter called Green with Evil, and he just won the hearts of everybody, especially when he got into a romantic relation or a relationship with the Pink Ranger at the time, Amy Jo Johnson, aka Kimberly, and a lot of people were able to resonate with that, so much so that they, like, even to this day, they've always been told, like, "Oh yeah, you fueled this relationship because we were always in love with Tommy and Kimberly." And this was another example where JDF went out of his way to not just support the franchise that made him, but also be able to support those who supported him. I mean, for crying out loud, I've seen so many pictures of Jason David Frank meeting families where the grandma got to see Jason David Frank when he debuted, and then showed it to her daughter, and then showed it to their daughter, and then showed it to their daughter. And they got the picture of, like, all of them in there with Jason David Frank. And, like, he always loved stuff like that, and he always found ways to be able to, like, where occasionally people like Austin St. John wouldn't do cameos for Power Rangers. He had a good enough relationship that he always was willing to go and do yet another cameo. I mean, for crying out loud, he went out of his way, and I think he even lost money on this one to do, if you guys haven't seen it, the Lord Dracon trailer for Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. He went out of his way to go and do that trailer because they literally made a live action Lord Dracon costume for him to be able to go and do it. So he was very, very dedicated to the audience, and the biggest thing that hurt with his passing was early on it got declared that it was a suicide. I now know, and I think a lot of people know what happened in that regard, or at least one side of that story. We won't hear the other side. And I'm not going to bring it up because I have no problem saying that it broke me to read it, and I'm not going to break other people by reading it, because you just don't want to imagine Jason David Frank that way. Everything I saw of him when he passed was all positive, and the way that he went out, I don't want to remember that. I want to remember the legacy he left behind. So let's get into this one. You guys, Brinton, what was your thoughts on the passing of Jason David Frank?
There's my thoughts.
Okay, so you didn't watch Power Rangers.
Well, I did watch Power Rangers, but it's not like I don't have like an attachment to these people, is what I should be saying.
I don't think I do either. But to me, it's disappointing because these guys went out of their way to support their fans, and that's a rarity in a lot of these con circuits. Unfortunately, I've heard more bad stories about meeting celebrities at these cons than I have good ones, and the good ones usually involve the same people: Vic Mignogna, Jason David Frank, Johnny Young Bosch, Kevin Conroy was another one. Gary Chalk has been a good person for people to meet if you're a fan of Optimus Primal, as well as, and his name is escaping me, but Beast Wars Megatron. Meeting him at like BotCon, he's always been very thankful. He's so thankful he does Christmas messages for every BotCon. So, and he does them out of his own pocket. So I like being able to hear that because they are the exception, not the rule. And so that's why it's disappointing. So Alex, your thoughts?
Yeah, it was real sad to hear about it because, well, yeah, I definitely grew up with the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and Tommy was a big feature of that, especially as a lot of the original cast started to go from the show. He kind of was the long-standing holdout of the original era.
Yep.
And of course, eventually he packed on and moved on, but he also kind of came back. He came back for Dino Thunder. That's it. I had to remember it. Right, so even he was
well, he
wanting to
came
come
back
and...
for Dino Thunder as a solid cast member. He came back for and basically for every anniversary special -1, because that particular one, Jason or Johnny Young Bosch came in, and that was the Operation Overdrive one. Yeah, he missed that one. I can't remember the reasons, but I mean, he also did Forever Red. I actually just barely saw this. The most recent series did an anniversary special, and he came back and actually was like kind of evil in it because they had like a robotic clone of him. And the way that you knew that it was the real Tommy is he had what was called a master morpher, which basically let him morph into all of his different Ranger forms. And it was actually cool being able to see him do a fight scene and just constantly morph from Red Zeo to Black Dino Thunder, to then being able to go to the White Ranger, and then being able to go to the Green Ranger, and so on and so forth. So that was actually pretty cool to see. He actually was, for a lot of people who don't know this, he was working on a independent film. It wasn't going to be Power Rangers, so to speak. They were toting the line, but him and Johnny Young Bosch were trying to basically make a Power / Rangers that wasn't as dark as what Adi Shankar came up with.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember the details of it, but it actually got funded, and I think they've had to since send all the money back because without Jason, Johnny doesn't want to continue the project. So that's the way it goes.
Right.
I have no problem saying that. Yeah, this one affected me, but this again was I was out working and I caught Amy Jo Johnson's reaction. And she knows, like, she's been with Jason David Frank on a lot of these ventures, and seeing her break down in tears because she didn't understand either why it was declared a suicide. We didn't know at that point. And that broke me too, because it's just like, holy shit. And she even dedicated a song to it. And so I was like that weird Amazon delivery guy who was actually crying while delivering packages because I was listening to her reaction. That was
very
the one.
touching.
Yeah, it hurt. It literally hurt because even though Kim and Tommy didn't get together, those two remained best friends for a long time. So much so that they even worked things out so that they could go and do the cameo together for the 2017 Power Rangers movie, and they literally just made it work so that they could both be there. So yeah, that was really hard to be able to see. There's definitely one other death that I could throw in there, but it was earlier in the year, and that was the passing of Angela Lansbury. That was a voice from my childhood that I was sad to go away. In fact, I will die on this hill. She had her singing of the Beauty and the Beast theme is better than the live action one, and nobody will tell me different because I just love that one. But yeah, it's really sad to be able to see these, and feel free to leave comments in the RSS feed as well as the YouTube video that comes up on you guys' thoughts when they pass. But these are definitely two titans of 90s TV that are going to be missed very much. In fact, one of the things I also will probably find and put on this podcast is another cameo from Kevin Conroy, where he literally read the last line from The Dark Knight, which, if people don't remember, is Batman's line of send your dogs, send your police to hunt me down. And Kevin Conroy read that as Batman. And it's actually, I'm not saying it's bad in Dark Knight, it's just way better as Kevin Conroy doing it. So yeah, I'll go ahead and link that as well. But let's go ahead and get into the next one, which is back into the hilarious, because so many of you wanted us to talk about this. So Jennifer Lawrence has had a productive holiday season. I think we would all agree.
I guess.
Oh, do pray tell.
Yeah. So Jennifer Lawrence got into a bit of backlash around November and December, where she made a very auspicious claim. And I don't know if you guys know this, but according to her, she is the first ever female action hero to ever be in a film.
Good for her.
Yes, she actually said this.
I can't even say that with
here is the quote, because
straight face.
Alex was actually wondering if this legit happened, and I sent him the article. But here's the quote. It was in an interview that she was doing for Variety, where she said, "I remember when I was doing Hunger Games, nobody had ever put a woman in the lead of an action movie because it wouldn't work. because we were
Oh my
told
God.
girls and boys can both identify with a male lead, but boys cannot identify with a female lead. Alex, do you have something to say about that?
This is why you really got to pick your words carefully when you do these kinds of interviews. I'll give her a bit of benefit of the doubt and say she's probably just being a little bit
I
hyperbolic
will not
here,
give the
but
benefit of the doubt, and I will say this is a chronic case of Fred Flintstone syndrome. Insert foot right into the mouth.
jeez, yeah.
Let Alex finish his thought.
Sorry.
I mean, I don't. But it's just everybody likes to dunk on people, so yeah. A tad bit. So I do want to give a bit of benefit of the doubt here. Just say she's probably just being meant to be a little hyperbolic, but yeah, she should have definitely picked her words a lot more careful.
Oh, yes. And even Variety did articles to counter this. I actually wished I'd gotten the Variety article, but I'm going with the NBC News article that I sent you guys. But I mean, they even went on. So critics on social media quickly pounced on the comments, noting that several women have starred as leads in action films. Let's go ahead and tote them out. Sigourney Weaver in Alien, Angelina Jolie in Salt and Tomb Raider, Uma Thurman in Kill Bill, Michelle Yeoh in several films, among them Super Cop, Magnificent Warriors, and Yes, Madam. Yeah, there was an outstanding record here, Jennifer. I'm sorry, but Katniss was nothing new at this point.
Yeah.
If anything, she was way mopier than some of these women.
I mean, I would probably be really mopey too if I was in her situation. Let's be honest.
Well, I especially love that shortly after all this happened, they dug up another quote from Jennifer Lawrence about the Hunger Games. Like it was on the press tour for Mockingjay Part 2, where she was saying, like, this entire road, I have been making sure that we are as accurate to Katniss in the books as possible. And I've read the books because I had to do a radio drama. And bitch, I can already tell you you're wrong. Because if you did that, then half of your body would have been nuked by the bomb blast that killed your sister.
Okay, but that's just like press tour junket crap. That
no, I totally agree. I totally agree. But like, I would be pointing that out. No, you weren't 100% accurate. You can say all that fluff, but thankfully I wasn't the one who did it. But they all called her out on it and even brought up the quotes. So at that point, yeah. Thankfully, though, after this, Jennifer Lawrence did learn a lesson, and that was she turned off social media and just let people roast on her for like the next month. I will give her credit for that, because unlike other people I can mention in the past who cannot take that and will constantly double down on the detractors and just make it even worse, Jennifer Lawrence, thankfully, stepped off social media, went back to doing what she was doing, and we all got back to normal.
Yeah.
No, I'm not even kidding. Like, that was probably the best decision she had made in that whole thing.
Definitely. Well, because a lot of people would probably just try to double down on it.
No, like like how many people have we seen on, like, and I'll bring Brinton into this too. Like, how many people have you seen on Twitter and Reddit that immediately they see all the detractions from the quote and they're getting roasted and they immediately start doubling down on what they're saying and they make it worse? I don't know. A certain Froskirin comes to mind. How's that working out for you, Frosk? Oh, yeah, you left the gaming industry.
It's not working out at all.
No, it's not working out at all. How's that working out for you, Adam Sessler? Oh, yeah, by the way, yeah, you might be semi-retired. I don't see you getting any major production gigs anytime soon. Yeah, that's working out really well for you, Adam. But yeah, so Jennifer Lawrence properly got roasted on this one. And I'm happy about that because it was kind of hilarious to go out and see. I mean, for crying out loud, she literally, she contradicted herself because she was Mystique before she was Katniss. And First Class went out of its way to market her instead of James McAvoy as Xavier.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if people remember this. They went out of their way advertising her as Mystique as compared to Michael Fassbender as Magneto and James McAvoy as Professor Xavier. So technically, she also one-upped herself because she was advertised heavily as Mystique and then went on to being Katniss.
Yeah, maybe a little later, just because I had to double check the dates, and First Class came out a year before the Hunger Games, so I
Yeah,
can
so
see
it would have
it
been before,
totally.
yeah.
So, but probably not for that movie, just because that would have still been before Hunger Games.
Oh no, but no. What I'm saying is like she was saying because of Hunger Games, she was the first ever female lead in an action film, and X-Men First Class is an action film, and she was the female lead. So
That didn't work in First Class. Well, I guess if you want to, I guess it's kind of an ensemble. It is X-Men, so
yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is like when you get the big posters of like James McAvoy is Professor Xavier, there were way more places that had Jennifer Lawrence is Mystique. Mainly because like a lot of people were hyping up that her performance was way better than Rebecca Romaine Stamos, which I will agree with. It totally was, and nothing against Romaine Stamos. They just didn't do a whole lot with her. And so at that point, I'm happy about that. But yeah, that's really funny, Jennifer. It's called open mouth insert foot.
The things people say without fully thinking.
You know what? I had to bring this up too because gaffes like this like make my day on Twitter. Like if I'm out working and on a lunch break and whatever, and I see stuff like that, I'm just like, yep, you kind of deserve that one. I don't really feel bad for you, Jennifer Lawrence. But thankfully, it does sound to me like she's taken it like a good sport. So at that point, I'll give her some credit because unlike other people I could name, she took it a lot better. So final thoughts on this one? Am I wrong? Did she not take it better?
Oh no, what I loved is that she totally owned what she said and totally owned the fact that she was wrong and accepted the roasting.
Yeah.
And got off social media, took some time to take a breather, accept what was coming, and carried on. I think that was extraordinarily mature.
I don't even know why I didn't think of this because this did technically happen before the Jennifer Lawrence gap. Like a perfect example of somebody who didn't. Viola Davis, advertising The Woman King, did something very similar to this and got roasted, and she doubled down endlessly and went on the tirade of like, if you don't go see the Woman King, you're not only racist, but you're sexist at the same time, et cetera, and did not handle it well. And then I at least can say with Jennifer Lawrence, like, after that, she handled it better than Viola Davis did. So
yeah, Jennifer Lawrence definitely has that finesse when it comes to stuff like that, because this obviously isn't the first time she's inserted foot into mouth.
No, she's had a couple of times at this point.
So at this point, it's just like it's it's a skill she's learned. She's like, oh, oops, I did it again.
It's more along the lines of like she's learning the PR game better than most. And I can say that on like she's basically learned things that like Scarlett Johansson learned when she was coming up. It's like you don't mess around with these things. They're not legitimate scandals. They're not going to hurt you. It's people on Twitter. And so at that point you can just step away. And the only time I could think that that it might have been a problem is if she was contractually obligated to do like tweets, but I think she was just on some kind of press tour, not for a movie, but for something else when she was doing this variety article. So she was totally within her ability to be able to get off Twitter. And
right.
Good on her for doing it, because I'm guaranteeing you, she went off, did her job, learned from this, and she's going to apply it to the next role that she does.
Well, you can hope so.
You'd hope, yes.
Sometimes it takes people a while to figure things out.
Oh yes.
But that's also okay.
Yes, it does. And thankfully, it actually would have been better if Sigourney Weaver had come out and roasted her, but Sigourney was a little busy advertising Avatar. So at that point, it was probably a good idea she didn't mention anything. So
So Sigourney Weaver is way more classy than do that.
Yeah, she's way too classy for that.
She wouldn't join in on something
I
like
I
that.
I agree, but also disagree because she also did Ghostbusters 2016. So and was very catty in that movie. But that I will give you guys the benefit of the doubt because it could have been just the writers. And so at that point, Sigourney just read the script and said, "Okay, I'll say it." So at that point, yeah, I'll give you that. Let's go ahead and move. So that covers the previous months. Let's go ahead and move into the recent situations, and we have to talk about this because it's so stupid, and it's a discussion that we've had before. But for those who don't know, the video game Hogwarts Legacy is under fire right now, because not because of anything it did, but because of what the creator of the universe did. For those who don't know, J.K. Rowling is what they call a trans-exclusionary
Radical
radical
feminist.
feminist.
She's a turf. Well, you know.
She's a turf.
In other words, because Adam completely refuses to say it proper, she is transphobic. That is what she is, and I will die on this hill. She is transphobic. That is what it is.
All I will say is she can die on that hill. And I would probably join her. Because in my opinion, the arguments that she's made, I wouldn't call transphobic. But that's me. So at that point, because of her statements, the game Hogwarts Legacy is being affected, primarily because of J.K. Rowling. And so we had a bunch of people coming out in boycott campaigns to not basically begging people to not pre-order Hogwarts Legacy, primarily because of J.K. Rowling. This is not the first controversy, however, that Hogwarts Legacy has had. If people remember earlier, there was a developer on Hogwarts Legacy that originally had a YouTube channel that wasn't toting the general line. Let's put it that way. And it was discovered, and immediately people called for his firing, and he stepped down, ultimately. That was his call. I don't think he should have, but he did step down because he didn't want this to affect his teammates on the dev team. So this isn't the first controversy, but immediately we had the don't pre-order Hogwarts Legacy. And of course, what do you think happens when people do these active boycott campaigns and then they try to put them up on major platforms like Twitter and Reddit? Hogwarts Legacy becomes #1 pre-ordered on Steam. That's what happens. And I'm totally okay with that because I already got Hogwarts Legacy. I got it for my wife. She's a Harry Potter fan and ultimately was going to want it anyway. I will admit the trailers have actually wowed me in the fact that it's going to go into a lot of history into the Harry Potter universe. So I want to try it. I've pre-ordered the game. Say what you want about it, but my bottom line is that me buying a game doesn't mean that I'm prescribing to either the dev team's beliefs or to the beliefs of the original creator of the universe. I mean, call me crazy, but I'm just not seeing the leap in logic there. I have supported many different people, whether they be musicians, whether they be movie stars, whether they be voice actors, whether they be animators, that I'm pretty sure if I got stuck in a green room with them, we would both literally be dead. Because we just wouldn't be able to agree on anything. And yet, I bought their product. Why? Because it was art. Because it interested me. And it moved me to want to purchase it. Does that mean that I'm immediately prescribing to the beliefs of that person? No. It does not. And that's why I've had no problem on my live stream saying, if you are interested in buying and pre-ordering Hogwarts Legacy, feel free to do so. Because if you're interested in the game, that's your call. That's your 60, 70, 80, 90, however much you're paying to pre-order the game. That's your call. That's simple. Really quick, just like you guys' thoughts on the whole controversy of Hogwarts Legacy not being able to be pre-ordered because and frankly, it's not even tied to J.K. Rowling. J.K. Rowling's not even getting any money.
She probably would get residuals, wouldn't she?
Nope.
Royalties?
Nope, they
No?
actually
Really?
confirmed that she wouldn't get the residuals. They would go to WB,
Okay.
and WB would not have to pay her for that because I guess the way that her contract works is that if it's for the Harry Potter films, if they're directly tied to her books, then she gets the residuals for it. But since they're branching out, like with the Fantastic Beasts films, there's a justification that she doesn't get those royalties, hence why she was on the writing team. That's how she got paid for those.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense because
Yep.
essentially, besides the fact it's set in the Harry Potter universe, a lot of it will probably be like original new kind of characters and materials.
Yep.
So yeah, that kind of makes sense actually.
Yeah. So at that point, I mean, she was gonna get paid for those, but they people did the legwork, and yeah, she's not involved in it whatsoever. They haven't even consulted her on it. So at that point, they're basically uh they're doing fine without her, but she's affecting them. And even the game director has come out and said that it's absolutely stupid to claim that, even like to say that just because J.K. Rowling has said a few things and hasn't been involved with this project, that they're immediately the bad guy because they're doing something in her universe. That makes about as much sense to me as the people who made the Shadowrun games, because Shadowrun was created by Orson Scott Card.
hmm Well, if we're gonna be pedantic like this, Henry Ford was a notorious anti-Semite back in his day. So you gonna stop driving Ford?
Yeah.
You might, but there's lots of other cars. But still, it's like, look, a lot of people that work in the entertainment industry or in other industries or retail
Mhm.
or own businesses that you probably shop at, they're
Yep.
not going to be the greatest people in the world,
Well, and
right?
this
And
would be a similar argument that we've had before on the podcast. Would you agree, Alex? Where we've said like, okay, it's great and all that you love this particular anime character. Sean
Mhm.
Schemmel isn't Goku. He
Yeah,
isn't. Chris Sabat is not Vegeta. They don't
right.
they are completely different people. They are flawed human beings at the end of the day. And unfortunately, when people do hero worship like this, they ascribe the morals of the character to being that of the artist, and it's probably not even true.
Yeah, it's not. A lot of the people tend to be quite contrary
Yeah.
to what they present, either in a character, if you're a writer, to their works.
Mhm.
It's kind of how it goes a lot of times, and you know, now uh, obviously, the inverse is true here. If you don't want to buy it because you don't like the ideals of J.K. Rowling,
Good on you.
that's fine too. Because
Yeah.
again, it is your money and it's your choice as the consumer
Mhm.
what you want to spend your money on. And if you want to so distance yourself from the series from now on, so that's fine because that's your decision.
Yep.
It's yours to make.
Exactly. And I've seen like I've even had to deal with a few of these people who have just basically come in and said the fact that I'm willing to pre-order a game basically means that I want trans people to die. I'd like to see you prove that, because I don't want anybody to die. I've experienced death in my life, and I know the pain that that brings. I don't want other people to go through that. Me buying a video game does not equate to the other. In fact, I would actually say that to have that line of thought is mental illness, and you should be seeking a counselor for it, because that's straight up paranoia. And at that point, if you're having straight up paranoia like that, you're not in a good place. And so I would highly advise that you go and see a therapist. If you are already seeing a
Um,
therapist, fire them.
I think you're speaking a little strongly there, Adam. Um, I I really don't like what you just said, if I'm to be completely honest.
Which part?
Calling out people for having paranoia, because I don't feel that it's paranoia.
We can agree to disagree on that.
Well, I mean, I'm a psychologist, so I'm just saying.
Okay.
So,
Like,
So, Britton, am I taking you're probably more objecting to his use of the term paranoia because he's not using it in a proper medical context? Is that what the problem is?
No, I think that the problem is that we're getting a little bit derailed here.
Okay.
The point of this conversation is to essentially insinuate the fact that we need to be separating the art from the artist.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I
No,
think
I agree with that.
that what you guys had stated at the beginning was something that I was planning on sharing, which is J.K. Rowling doesn't really have a whole lot of foot or creative content or
No,
a lot of say into the production and development of this video game.
nope.
Therefore, to punish the developers for things that she has said against a community of transgender individuals is completely absurd because they don't take any part and their views and thoughts are not aligned with the thoughts and ideas of how J.K. Rowling feels about transgender individuals. So I love the fact that even though there are radicals in the LGBT community and transgender community that wants to set the developer on fire for something that they're not even a part of. And what ends up happening is the game continues to flourish and become even more insanely popular is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It is telling these radical individuals that they need to calm down, that they need to realize the concept of separate the artist from the art.
Yep.
And that is why I feel that it's not really paranoia in so much that it's just people who don't want to be seen any less than who they are because that's what society has already done to them. And J.K. Rowling, being an individual who has a lot of quote unquote power because of her status in society, making transphobic remarks as she has belittles people who essentially live a life where they're not in the correct body, where they don't feel that they're able to fully express themselves because of the way that society just puts people into boxes. It minimizes them. It puts them into a place that they don't need to be because that's not fair to them. So, what I would say to these individuals is take a deep breath. You're still heard, you're still seen.
I'd agree with
Just
that.
just understand that you need to look at a bigger picture. You need to look at all of the information that is available to you and react with logic, with education, and not with emotion.
Well,
Because that is
it's
how.
not just that. Like, okay, J.K. Rowling has said what she said. At that point, my argument to those people would be, okay, where's the trans exclusionary radical feminism in Harry Potter? Pointed out to me. You're immediately saying that she has, or not you, Brinton, but the people, the detractors, are saying that because she believes a certain way, she can't write fiction that contradicts that. And I would strongly disagree with you on it. I think a lot of authors have done that in the past. I've seen, I mean, Stephen King, for crying out loud, like how many books has he written where he's openly said, like, the characters that he creates, he would never agree with, and he wrote them the way that he did because they needed to be that way. It's not
I mean,
like it's the art itself. It's not reflective of what the artist thinks or believes.
which I completely agree to, and I mean going back to something that you, myself, and Alex were talking about off camera weeks ago, like it's to me, I just find it so funny that this is the type of like the way I described it was she's progressive, but she's choosy with what she wants to be progressive with. And it's just like a buffet of progressionism where she's just like, I'm okay with this, and this, and everything else that I'm not. It's like, that's weird. Like, why? That doesn't make any sense.
It's almost like she's a flawed human being and has her own viewpoint on things because of the experiences that she's gone through in her own life. I think there's 8.6 billion of those.
Which is that's also completely fair. However, she should also she should also probably get to know some transgender individuals to better understand the life experiences that they have lived, so that way she can better understand, maybe I shouldn't be saying things that are going to be minimizing their experiences as well, and
Well,
being open enough to realize that, maybe there's
okay,
some things about me that I need to fix.
playing devil's advocate, what if she has?
Then
And she still came to
she's
this conclusion. It's still
then
her call.
that's not character growth.
That's not. That
Growth
just
means
reminds
a
me.
lot of things to a lot of people.
What's the expression? Walk a mile in a man's moccasins. I don't know the whole
Walk a mile in
expression.
their shoes. Yeah,
Yeah,
something
something
like
like
that.
that.
But I think ultimately the agreement that we're all having here is Hogwarts legacy to blame for what J.K. Rowling herself does? I think we've shown plenty of proof basically saying, no, J.K. is not even remotely involved in this. And actually, I've seen her make statements applauding the distinct separations that they are doing. Like the biggest example that I saw was like the whole purpose of Hogwarts Legacy is going to be discovering like the origins or how the three unforgivable curses got into regular everyday life in the wizarding community, whereas she basically just kind of wrote that they were always there, you know. And so at that
Mhm.
point, you have this interesting way to be able to do that. And it's not necessarily made by her. It's almost like other people can make things within that universe, kind of like Timothy Hahn did with Heir to the Empire.
Yeah, it's the
Um,
beauty of transformative work,
mhm,
right?
is that
Yeah. Sorry,
and
go ahead.
no, it's a transformative work, but I actually like this is one of the things that the people get mad at me for because I have said in the past that it really would be great if Disney would acknowledge the expanded universe of Star Wars. But I can understand why they don't because there are just so many different directions that a lot of that stuff goes into that it would contradict itself. And so at
Mhm.
that point, but that's one of the things I love about it is that you had weird directions that could be gone through in games like Dark Forces, in books like Heir to the Empire, or in the Young Jedi books. You could even have stuff on Obi-Wan Kenobi that technically isn't canon, but we'd all like to think that it is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Harry Potter fans that don't consider the cursed child to be canon, and that's fine. In my opinion, it's a time travel plot, so it can either insert itself or it can't. And you don't really have to worry about it because all time travel plots are headaches in and of themselves. Um, so
Makes me wonder what your opinions on Prisoner of Azkaban is now. Because that's a time travel plot.
book, one of my favorites. Movie, not so much, and not because of the reasons that people think. I'm actually just it's one of my complaints that I have with a lot of the other Harry Potter films where they left out a lot of really good scenes. And I get why they did it, people. I get why. You have 2.5 hours to work with. It's just it still irritates me. Like for
Mhm.
example, in Chamber of Secrets, I love the whole thing of Valentine's Day where they had like all of the what were they, goblins or something like that, where they would go around and be like Cupid and give love messages to people. That would have been so great to see on camera. And we didn't get it. I get why we didn't get it, but I still would have liked to have seen it. So it's that case. I love Prisoner of Azkaban, the book. It's probably one of my favorites in there, but the movie not so much just because of the stuff they left out. Um, but as far as the time travel plot of it, because that's specifically what you're asking. It's like what did I think of the time charter stuff? I've seen worse. I really have. I've seen time travel plots go really off the rails, and considering those, Prisoner of Azkaban did very well to stay on the rails.
Well, I wasn't actually expecting you to give like your thoughts, but I appreciate it nonetheless.
It's almost like we need to do a Geek News movie night or something on it.
Oh my god! I think we've nailed the.
Yeah.
I think the coffin is buried, so
Yeah, pretty
we
much.
should
So
move on.
Let's actually get into the next story, which is a follow-up. We actually covered the initial controversy when it happened. Brinton, you weren't here, so we'll get to you in a minute. But,
yeah, I was going to say I don't remember talking about this, but continue.
Well, we'll get into that because I want to set it up a little bit. This is a continuation
Cool.
of the Alec Baldwin story. We'll get into that in a little bit, but let's dovetail over to Brinton here. You were not here when we discussed this, and in fact, a lot of people in my comment section got mad about me and Romney's kind of viewpoint when we did discuss the Alec Baldwin situation. And so really quick, when you heard about the incident involving Alec Baldwin, for those who don't know, while they were on set practicing a scene, the gun was live, and he claims accidentally shot his lead producer in the face while she was running the camera, and she died. And the blame has gone everywhere, from Alec himself to the armorer, to the armorer's grandfather, who's well known in the industry, to, I'm pretty sure, the water boy has been blamed at this point by Alec Baldwin. So really quick, like, when you heard about that situation, what were your thoughts, Brenton?
Well, I actually didn't know that was a thing until the article that you that were no, I had no idea at all that was a thing until I had seen a news report about Alec Baldwin being charged for manslaughter or involuntary manslaughter.
Yep.
And then that's when I had found out, oh, that was a thing. I had no idea. So so I never even saw the initial news break on that. I just saw I just saw essentially, here is the official formal charge, the end.
So let me bring you up to speed then. So one of the big disagreements that a lot of people had with me and Romney's take on the Alec Baldwin situation is, like, when we read Alec's take of how things happened, and we read, like, the testimony of the armor and things like that, the general sense that we all got was, like, there was a lot of laziness happening on the set of Rust. And Alec Baldwin, the guy who has handled guns in so many films at this point, even he was being lazy, because any actor who's going to be handling, real life guns knows to check and make sure that it's a blank you're firing, not an actual round. Like, I mean, the perfect example of this is Brandon Lee. Brandon Lee got shot because people didn't check the barrel and make sure that there was a blank in there. And so at that point, like, we basically came to the agreement that there was a lot of laziness that was happening on the set of Rust, and a lot of it was primarily because they were trying to cut a lot of costs so that the film Rust wasn't that expensive to film, so they'd be able to make a profit off of it because it was Baldwin's production company who was making it. Now that you're getting up to speed on this, like, is that your take? Like, have you seen some of the evidence that's been discovered?
No, again, like, all I know about this is that he was formally charged. I didn't see anything leading up to it.
Okay, if you'd seen the other stuff, I would have liked to have heard, like, if you agreed or disagreed with me and Romney on the fact that this is just all, like, laziness of the highest, laziness and ignorance of the highest degree, especially involving firearms on a movie set. That's a big no-no. Like, Alec Baldwin should have known a whole lot better.
Oh no, you're probably right. Like, you're right. That would make complete and total sense.
Yeah, because it wasn't like he was dealing with a 3D printed gun where he knows that it's not, it doesn't have ammo in it. Like, this was a Western. So at that point, they did actually have to find, like, legit guns and people who could manufacture facsimiles of those guns, but they were still legit firearms. And you still even have to use the real firearms for the shots that Alec was actually practicing for, so that the gun looks real. so that people can see the barrel moving and know that it's a legit gun. It was an effed up situation, but let's get into this particular story. So, after a lengthy investigation, Alec Baldwin, as well as the head armorer Hannah Gutierrez Reed, have officially been charged with involuntary manslaughter. And this is all in regards to the death of Helena Hutchins, who is the cinematographer in question that passed away. The charges were formally made on Tuesday and were officially announced by the Santa Fe District Attorney Mary Carmack Altweiss, and the evidence that was being presented for it was actually kind of shocking to me. They actually found live ammo on the belt that Alec Baldwin was wearing. And that was a little bit shocking to me because it's fairly easy to create a facsimile of ammo, like of the bullet itself. It's difficult to create the effect of the bullet, you know? And so at that point, in a lot of cases, you will get really well done facsimiles in ammo belts and stuff like that. And no, they found live rounds in the belt, as well as obviously there were live rounds in the gun. And this is actually another piece of evidence that you don't know, Brinton, but again, attests to the laziness here. They were firing this gun earlier on in the day, and nobody did any of the armorer checks to make sure it was still in good performing parameters, but also that the clip hadn't been emptied for it. They were actually shooting live rounds with this gun earlier in the day.
Goodness.
Yeah, there's tons of neglect and incompetence in this story. But yeah, they found live ammo on the belt. That's surprising to me. Alex, what do you think about that?
Definitely. There's just a sheer amount of terrible breakdown in competence and
Mhm.
management and, you know, uh, in a terms of, say, a scale of responsibility, I'd say it starts at the armorer, the one who is in charge of the weapons,
And the thing that
first.
was really frustrating with this one, she was part of a family of armorers in
Yes.
Hollywood.
Yeah, so somebody who really should have known better,
Yes.
to down to the production managers or assistants, whoever is also in charge of keeping track of props, keeping track of firearms, making sure that they'd be locked up,
Yep.
right? To anybody on that crew who maybe was taking them out and shooting them, it's like,
And
I can't believe
again, bringing
that would
Brinton
be a
up to
thing.
speed, we found out that this armorer was more interested in updating her Instagram account and being an Instagram model than actually doing her job on set.
Oh
Yeah.
boy. I don't like, and people disagreed with you all that they didn't think that this was just negligence and laziness on set.
I think it's more
The primary
disagreement
disagreement that
comes.
a lot of people had was not necessarily the disregard that was happening on here, but we did play it from, correct me if I'm wrong, Alex, we did play it from the angle that, let's just say Alec is innocent and he didn't actually, he was ignorant enough that he didn't pay attention to all that stuff. Okay, is he still responsible for this? Hell yeah,
Yeah.
he is. And that was the
And
problem that they had.
yeah, that's where I think the disagreement can come into
Yeah.
play. And that is a bit of a difficult question because it does kind of boil down to how responsible is an actor, right? When you are
Yep.
supposed to be in the hands of a professional, namely your professional armorer and your professional props master, right? And I get it. There is that kind of grayish area. Maybe this is something that a lot of the Teamsters and the Hollywood unions really need to start talking about and taking seriously if we're going to keep using
Well,
live
I don't think they
weapons
were
on a
involved
set.
at all. I think that was one of the cost-cutting measures, is that they didn't want to pay
Yeah.
union fees.
Yeah, I think that was the case. This
So
wasn't on
it's
union.
almost like you shouldn't be able to do that.
I am just talking going for, what
Yeah.
lessons can certainly be learned from a situation like this. And,
Yeah.
this is definitely something I think, like the unions and the Teamsters and these kinds of groups that are supposed to be responsible for the safety of sets, of actors, of
Mhm.
crew members, definitely need to consider is how do we talk about weapon safety on a set. I mean, like you think of a movie like a military movie,
Yeah,
right? How often?
a perfect example for Alec Baldwin, Hunt for Red October. You know, like it's fictional, but like he was a CIA agent who had to handle a gun.
Right. And when you think of movies like that, how often do we see like in behind the scenes footage of like the actors might go through a quick rudimentary boot camp of learning to be like to work like military, right? There's always
Mhm.
advisors like that on set to train actors, right? So to there I do say Baldwin probably should bear a little responsibility
Yeah,
because I think an actor should take the time to educate themselves about what kind of prop they're working with if it's going to be a potentially dangerous prop.
yeah.
It is important to trust that you're going to be in the hand of a professional without a
Mhm.
doubt, but I think there's also a degree of professionalism you got to exercise and caution you got to exercise yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And so like that hopefully that answers your question, Brenton. A lot of people just immediately assume that because I know this was a big argument because I played devil's advocate and said, okay, let's just say he's an ignorant old man and he forgot to do all these things that he's literally done for 30 plus movies. Okay, let's play that. Is he still responsible? Yes. Should he have to go to jail for it? Yeah, probably. And at the time, I think the only thing we were considering is that obviously there was going to be a wrongful death suit, which there was, and they already settled it, where Alec agreed to pay, like to pay that out. But oh my gosh, it gets even worse really quick, Alex. So not only do they find live ammo, we discussed this.
Right.
Everybody on the set has to go through a certain degree of training when firearms are on the set. That makes sense, right, Brenton?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the cameraman
Following.
needs to go through it because that way if somebody else isn't, they can remind them. And Alec Baldwin neglected said training. You're not allowed to do that in union jobs, by the way. You have to go like there Arnold's probably gone through it numerous times. He could probably recite it from memory. Okay. I'm pretty sure people like Robert Downey Jr. can do that. And it's because for every set that you're going to be on, you have to get recertified for it. And Baldwin neglected to do that.
Yeah.
And not only him, also Hannah Gutierrez Reed neglected to do the same training and in turn tried to out Baldwin, but then outed herself.
Yeah, and there, like I said, there is just that degree that people, there needs to be that degree of responsibility from through the production team, right?
Yeah.
Production teams, they are hierarchical, they are very military in structure. I mean,
Mhm.
in a non-firearm related example, I can think of some of the behind the scenes features of Transformers, right?
Yeah.
Where you can actually see, you'll actually
Oh,
see
that's
like
another one. Mark Wahlberg could probably recite those by memory.
yeah, and you could like even see like Michael Bay kind of t talk to Shia LaBeouf and kind of I don't know, maybe not yell at him, but certainly talk strongly. It's like, no,
Well,
don't
they were
do
prepping
anything like that.
they were prepping explosions, so yeah, he was yelling at him.
Like either or just even just saying, no, you're not a stunt driver. Don't do
Yeah,
anything
yeah,
crazy, right?
don't do shit that you're not supposed to do, kind of thing.
Right? You know, and we all love to say Bayhem, right? But you look at a director like Michael Bay, he does run a very tight set when
Oh yeah.
stunts are involved. He is a very
Oh, a
his
lot of
stunt
people
team.
in his production company are former military guys. So at that
Yeah,
point, he literally meets them when doing movies like Armageddon and just brings them onto his staff. So at that
yes,
point, like he wasn't the only one. They all knew the etiquette.
yes, safety is a huge priority for him. He
Yeah.
absolutely takes that seriously,
Mhm.
and you think of a movie like Transformers where and sadly somebody I think was actually killed in the making of the third film, a stunt, like I think a
Yeah,
stunt
it was
actor.
a stunt driver, I think.
Yeah, and it certainly it's tragic and it can
Yeah.
happen, right? But you can tell that he definitely does his best to take safety seriously, and that's something
Mhm.
that you gotta do no matter the budget of your film, especially if you are gonna handle dangerous props or dangerous, or even just dangerous environment special effects like explosions.
Yeah. And the other major piece of evidence that led to the charging So really quick, I'm going to bounce this off of you, Brenton. What do you think
Mhm.
the rule number 1 is when handling a firearm in any kind of situation, much less a movie set?
Don't put your finger on the trigger.
Close. Close. Don't point don't point the gun at anybody. Don't do it. Now, granted, Hollywood has a fudging of this rule because they basically limit it to when you're filming the scene. Usually what will happen if they're practicing the scene, they'll have a practice gun, like a prop gun, and they'll go through the scene, which didn't happen here, obviously. And then when they do the legit shot, that's when they'll break this rule number 1. But everybody has gone through the class and knows, even if you're pointing at it, they don't like actively pull the trigger. You do the whole film thing of like slowly pulling it, and you make sure that the thing that you're firing is a blank. Which,
Even
again,
blanks
he's
can
done
be
30
dangerous.
plus films and he didn't check the damn gun.
Yeah. And don't forget, even blanks, they can be dangerous if you're not careful.
Because Brendan Lee's was an accident involving a blank.
Well, I actually, in that case, I believe a live chamber was somehow put in that gun. So
It might have been,
or a
but-
live round. I think it was supposed to be blanks, but I think somehow a blank got swapped for an actual live bullet.
Oh yeah, but like
Similar
I've
situation
seen
here.
legit, because the blanks have
But yeah.
powder in them.
Yeah.
So
the
like, have
blanks
you
are
ever
still
seen like the powder burns
dangerous.
that could come from a blank explosion?
I've never
not
seen it, but I
fun.
can imagine it can hurt.
They're nasty. They're nasty
I
looking.
can imagine, yeah.
I've seen
Yeah.
a few of them just because the Utah Film Council like keeps a bunch of the stuff for the films that get filmed out here, like Independence Day and stuff like that. And it's like a gnarly blister that forms like in between your index finger and thumb when the blank explodes improperly. So at
Mhm.
that point, like, gross negligence that was happening on this set quite a bit. I think we pointed that out. But
Yeah.
it has turned out that both the head armorer, Anna Gutierrez-Reed, and Alec Baldwin have both received 2 charges of involuntary manslaughter. Now, the penalty for that is up to 18 months in prison and a additional fine of $5,000. Obviously the judge would determine a lot of this, and it would be a 4th-degree felony, which would hurt Alec. Like, I mean, already his career's kind of over, but at this point, like getting somebody to insure him on an action movie, not with a felony on your record, it just wouldn't work.
Probably not.
No, the insurance rate would just skyrocket. So at that point, like, yeah, technically his career is already over, especially in how he's handled the situation. But, if he got this charge, he'd basically be, I can't even believe I'm saying this, like, he'd be in a worse situation than Ezra Miller. Actually, no, because Ezra Miller has been found, he's accepted charges on some of the things that he has. So, yeah, his insurance would go up through the roof as well. But yeah, Alec has basically confirmed like his production company is no more, and he's potentially looking at 18 months in jail at most.
Yeah.
Which,
and he's facing a couple lawsuits from this too.
well, he's already taking care of the wrongful death suit, which was filed by Matthew Hutchins, which was her husband. But he's also facing a bunch of lawsuits from the crew that, in fact, I think a few of them are doing lawsuits because he outright accused them of incompetence in interviews, and so they're like defamation suits when all of the investigation pointed towards Reed as well as Baldwin. So at that point, yeah, it's a crap situation, and I guess starting on February, sorry, that's the date I think the investigation started. I think the trial is starting. Yeah, I think it's starting up like early this year. So the Alec Baldwin trial is probably on its way. So with that, I'm going to give the final thoughts over to Brenton, because I think both me and Alex have pretty much made our viewpoints clear. Like, nothing much has changed on the matter. And despite me playing devil's advocate, I actually, yeah, I did find him responsible, because this is a guy who's done 30 plus films where he's handled firearms and he's been safe in all of those. Why not this one? So at that point, yeah, I did hold him to a higher standard here, and I did think that if they found criminal negligence here or anything like that, yeah, he should be charged because he was in charge of the gun. He had the trigger in his finger. Well, not in his finger, but you get the point. He was the trigger man. So I'm going to give the final thoughts to Brinton. What's your take on, now that you've heard some of the information that we've yielded from the investigation for it?
I don't really think there's any more that I could add. Like, sounds like they're
so
guilty.
you think the charge is legitimate then?
100%.
Yeah. I think it's legitimate on both of their ends. I know exactly why they did it. They probably want, they charged them both, and they probably want one to roll on the other. And if I were to take a guess, I'm gonna say it's Reed that rolls on Baldwin, but they both deserve it. As far as, like, they both deserve the charge. They both deserve to have this affect their lives because, well, it certainly affected Helena Hutchins' life now, didn't it? So at that point, yeah, I'll probably watch this trial when it starts out, because I would be very interested in because this is only the stuff that they've been willing to share of their investigation. Obviously, when he goes to trial, the prosecution's going to put all of their evidence to place, and I would be very interested to see what the rest of their investigation brought out. So that being said, let's go ahead and move on into the last story that we have tonight, which is this has been probably, aside from the Hogwarts Legacy situation, this has probably been the biggest thing talked about in January, and that is Warner Brothers' Velma. Now, really quick, I know that Alex has watched some Scooby-Doo, so I know, like, he's part of that fandom. Brinton, did you watch Scooby-Doo at all?
I love Scooby-Doo.
Okay, so by chance, did you see the trailer for this, or the projects that HBO Max had in the works for things like Velma, and were you excited for it?
I knew this was going to be something. I was like, my curiosity was piqued. I didn't watch it right away, and I'll be completely honest, I'm completely deterred by it just because of the reviews I've read and the comments that have been made online. So, like, my thoughts and opinions about it are definitely very swayed without ever having really watched the program.
Okay.
However, I'm not really a Mindy Kaling fan to begin with.
That's okay, nobody is.
I mean, like, I've seen things that she's produced and written, and I just don't understand why they keep letting her. Like, I don't understand why her projects keep getting greenlit.
I think the rest of the internet agrees with you on this, Brinton, because that's been the most interesting thing about Velma. Velma came out. I even did, like, my own criticisms of it, because I was already finding major plot holes in how Mindy Kaling was trying to write this new Velma that she was trying to portray. And yes, she was part of the writing team. I love the fact that some of the articles out there are saying that no, she was just the voice talent. No, she said in interviews she was in the writing room for Velma. So sorry, that if she's in the writing room, she's helping out with the writing, and therefore is part of the writing staff. Is she the director of it? Probably not. She's probably not the showrunner, but she's in the writing room, and as far as I'm concerned, that does put her in some level of responsibility. But the interesting part about this is, so Velma comes out, and it unites the internet. Very few things have united the internet, but Velma certainly did, because I saw verified progressive accounts on Twitter, verified woke accounts on Twitter and Reddit that were all saying that Velma was a big piece of shit. And for a lot of the same reasons that a lot of the conservative coverage was saying. And it was actually quite a sight to behold, because this doesn't happen that often, guys. I would actually say, go look up the coverage. It's a sight to behold. It's almost like we can come to compromise on a few things. So overall, Velma is a ginormous piece of trash that is not doing any favors for HBO Max in terms of advertisement. And primarily, a lot of it is the titular character. Yeah, there is woke concepts of like bringing back characters but making them black, or making them into other things. Like for the other big example here, and the other controversy that came out of this was his name isn't Shaggy in it. It's like Mortimer or something like that. But he's definitely Shaggy. And the fact that he also has a crush on a fellow food critic online, and the woman's name, I confirmed it, the woman's name is Scooby. They didn't want to put the dog in, but they definitely wanted to have a female food critic, a black female food critic named Scooby.
What's the point of the show then? I don't really get it. And if you're just
That's a
gonna
very good question. In fact, the internet's trying to find that out right now. So when they get an answer, I'll let you know.
I don't
My
get the point of completely reinventing an existing character.
my favorite thing that I read in a review about this show, and it was a very critical review. This, what I'm about to quote, is not at all supposed to be like a compliment to Mindy Kaling. So, and I quote, Velma is a production where Mindy Kaling is in an animated cosplay of Velma and pretty much trying to push her own thoughts, rhetoric, and beliefs onto mainstream media.
I saw something similar to that, where she was basically in a cosplay of herself as Velma, is basically how they worded it.
Exactly. And so it's not. So at the end of the day, with that being said, and reading some of the quotes and the things that like this Velma does,
yes,
I sit there and I'm just like, no, this isn't the Velma that I've come to love and know. It is 100% Mindy Kaling in an animated Velma cosplay.
Yeah, like, I'm not a Scooby-Doo fan. Believe it or not, like, that's the one Hanna-Barbera series I didn't grow up with. I grew up with everything else, but I never had seen Scooby-Doo in my time. And so at that point, I wasn't a big fan of it, but I at least knew, okay, Fred's shtick is he's the guy who sets up the trap. Daphne's shtick is she's the one that sits there and looks pretty. Velma's shtick is she's the one that actually solves the mystery. You know? So I at least know that. And I know enough from watching the horrible trailers of this. I haven't watched it and I'm not going to, but I've seen the trailers of it. I can already tell you this isn't anywhere about Scooby-Doo or Velma or Freddy or Daphne or any of that. And in fact, goes out of its way to contradict itself in what it's trying to do. Like the biggest example of this is like the portrayal of Daphne. And by the way, I love the fact that the voice actress for Daphne has come out and absolutely slammed Velma. That's great. But they, like, one of their biggest accomplishments is that they took the whole sit there and look pretty with Daphne and decided to go out of their way to not make her look pretty and not make her that stereotype. And the first screenshot that literally comes out is of her in a hallway in nothing but soapy suds. That's a great job there, Mindy Kaling. And then also I think the only reason that Fred even existed in this series was so that he could be that one hipster douche nozzle that thinks he's all that but isn't, and that Velma can constantly one up on. Like, Fred isn't a character in this. He's basically a, rich boy with silver spoon in his mouth that is constantly being told that he has a small penis. That's all that he's good for in this show. I'm not a Scooby-Doo fan, but even I feel bad for Scooby-Doo fans on what this abomination did. It's literally a perfect example of why I have a problem with a lot of these woke writers wanting to go and acquire. They don't want to go through the effort of creating these characters themselves and actually going through the hard work that people like Tolkien and Spielberg went through to be able to make them as beloved characters as they are. No, instead they want to take established characters that already have an audience and trash the ever-loving crap out of them. Safe to say that's what basically happened here with the Scooby-Doo cast.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, it's exactly what happened. And it makes me feel bad. Like, I'm not a Scooby-Doo fan, but I've seen plenty in the past year alone of characters that have been redone and aren't anywhere near the characters that I came to love and respect, and don't even have like any of the traits that made them cool back when they were created back in the 90s or 80s. And I just, at this point, I'm just like, okay, it's obvious that you want to create a new character. Go do that. I'm not kidding. Go do that. Go create a new character and go through the lumps like all of your predecessors did. I hate to quote Jeff Goldblum here, but you stood on the shoulders of giants, and without even properly understanding the struggles that they went through, you patented it and you packaged it, and now you're selling it. I really wish I could do this on the mic better. You're selling it. You're absolutely selling it. See, the quiet makes me wonder if I've gone overboard. I probably have.
That's exactly right. Because I keep wondering the same thing, and I wondered the same to the genius executives at Warner Discovery, Warner, HBO, whatever they are fucking now. I don't know.
You want to know if they are about to be out of business?
It's like, oh, the Batgirl movie. Nobody wants to see that. This movie's unreleasable. Can it? Velma, but has little to do with the original Scooby-Doo Velma.
No. It gets better.
Like that bitch.
I didn't technically put this in because I honestly wanted a legit reaction for this when I actually put this up on screen, because you are not going to believe this shit. I'm just going to go ahead and give you guys a minute to read the headline for this article from Screen Rant.
So read the headline. Got it.
Velma Season 2 reportedly confirmed at HBO Max despite backlash.
Oh, no, I've already seen this. I've read this article.
I'm not surprised.
It's apparently so bad, it got a Season 2.
Because people hate watched it, and that...
They did, yeah. I agree with that. When you hate
watch, you're part of the problem. So don't hate watch, guys.
I
Just
mean,
I'm
in a weird deal because, like, I'm kind of torn. I get why a lot of them hate watched it, and you know what? Good on them, because at that point, I think they exercised a lot more creativity in how they did it on their podcast versus the actual creativity that was put into into Velma by Mindy Kaling. So I will give them that credit, but you're exactly right. They basically paid for Season 2 because that's what these people are going to do. They're going to constantly double down. As long as they have the financial means to be able to do it, they will run these companies into the ground. Almost like another network I can think of that ran itself into the ground last year. It's almost like people don't learn the mistakes of the past. Food for thought.
I don't.
Nope, they do not. But I'm going to give you guys the final thoughts on this one because you guys are the fans. Like, I don't even want to get into the whole Scooby controversy. Like, it would not surprise me that they wanted to try and do some kind of relationship because, like, I'm thoroughly convinced 80% of this writing room is, like, people who are rejects from Tumblr. So at that point, no, it doesn't surprise me that they tried to write in a Scooby character that is not a dog, and therefore they don't have to worry about the bestiality concerns.
Yeah, okay.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. Here's my take. For people, if you want like a better sort of deconstructive satirical parody of Scooby-Doo, just go watch the 2002 movie. Okay?
Yeah, actually. Could we say the same thing of the sequel? I think it could be said of the sequel too.
Yeah.
I agree.
I like the 2002 movie. I'm not as fond of the sequel, but it's not terrible either. Yeah. But I like the 2002 movie, and I've been keeping this in the back of my head, by the way, for Geek News Movie Night theme. If I should ever get the chance to pitch my theme again, it's always going to be. I've been planning a guilty pleasure movie night, and that would be.
And you want to do Scooby-Doo?
Scooby-Doo, yeah. Because
Maybe we'll just give it to you instead of doing the poll.
Maybe so, because I think it's a better kind of affectionate parody while also kind of satirizing Scooby-Doo at the same time.
Yeah.
More than Velma does. So do that, watch that
Way
instead.
more than Velma does. And wasn't one of those Scooby-Doo movies was competing with Harry Potter, wasn't it? Yeah, the first one was.
Yeah.
So at that point, yeah. Oh my gosh. Or another example, so my little brother was also very mad at Velma because like he did watch a little he started watching Scooby-Doo when what was it? What's New Scooby-Doo? The 2000 series that Kids WB did.
Yeah.
He watched that and he liked it. And I guess Netflix had a series that was way more serious and he loved the hell out of that and I think he'd recommend that. I think it was called Scoob, but I'm not sure. I'll go see if I can track it down. Sorry, I cut you off, Alex.
It just wasn't great. And I'm like, yeah, I liked What's New Scooby-Doo too back in the day. I remember that show.
Well, I can't remember what it was, but like when my little brother was explaining it, they actually like did explore like because everybody kind of assumed that Velma would eventually get Shaggy, right? And apparently, this series did that. They hooked up Shaggy and Velma, and it didn't work because Scooby didn't want Shaggy dating. Like, okay, that's an interesting way for things to go. But apparently, it was way more serious than previous Scooby-Doo series, and people loved it for it. I'll have to go track it down and see if and I'll bring it up to you guys so you guys can go see it and tell me if it's good or not. Okay, Brinton, your final thoughts on Velma?
I'm not super interested, and I don't plan on watching it. And I guess good on Mindy Kaling for creating content that makes people pissed off. Maybe that's how she sleeps at night. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Maybe her and the chick who wrote She-Hulk should go to get together and form a sewing circle, I guess. Because it sounds to me like that's what the She-Hulk writer did too. Like there's I don't know the details because I haven't seen She-Hulk, but apparently there's interviews of her like being very, very happy that she trolled the trolls. And I'm just like, that's not why you do this, people. You do this to write good stories. Like if you want to troll, that's fine. That's what comedies are for. But yeah, don't do this just because you're pissed off you're pissed off at comments made by somebody who literally doesn't know you and doesn't know what you've been through and doesn't know your writing opinion what the fuck does their opinion even matter?
Seriously.
Like
that's just crazy to me. That you would write just to troll and not to, be expressive or form a fun story or create a universe.
I will die on this hill. Ghostbusters 2016 eventually just did that. They got sick and tired of all of the backlash that they got from their trailers that they made it an ongoing gag within the movie. I'm sorry, but that didn't come off to me as comedy. That came off to me as you couldn't take the fact that you were getting bad criticism, which I'm sorry, but if you can't take the heat, you got to get out of the kitchen. Like, I've had this argument numerous. I'm one of the people that doesn't like Ghostbusters 2016. I have family members that love 2016. That's fine. But we all can come to an agreement that there are some things that could have used serious improvement in that film, especially the fact that the writers apparently got very butthurt that people didn't like their trailers on YouTube. So they made fun of it. Well, that's going to get you loads of love at that point. No wonder Afterlife did so poorly. Oh, wait. It didn't. Never mind. So with that, I think we pretty much covered everything. Oh, wait. I have another surprise really quick. Because I actually forgot to add this into the agenda, and I think it's actually a good way to end things tonight. Because originally, like, when we do things for the first podcast of the year, we do, like, the best and worst of that given year. We didn't do that this time, because obviously we missed a couple of months. That's totally not my fault, right? But this was actually brought up in a live stream to me, and I appreciated the idea. So let's go ahead and do this because people wanted us to talk about upcoming anniversaries in the Geek fandom that are going to be occurring in 2023. So I'm not going to go over like all of them, but I'm going to go over some of the highlights that I was able to find for people. So, and there's actually a lot of really good anniversaries here. One, including in the gaming sphere. You're just going to love this, Alex. Xenogears.
Oh, hell yeah.
Xenogears is celebrating an anniversary this year.
25, yeah?
I think so. 25. Yeah, because it was in 98. So 25 years.
Amazing.
Uh-huh. Do you want to know another game that we've also covered on a Let's Play? Parasite Eve is also celebrating an anniversary this year.
Oh, nice.
So
very nice.
You have all of that. You're both Pokemon fans. You guys know the Pokemans and I don't. Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire are celebrating an anniversary this year.
15 years?
15, I think. Yeah, 2003 was when they came out. So
amazing, yeah. God,
yeah, especially
that was new.
Like you talk lots about your love of Ruby and Sapphire. So at that point, I think that's appropriate. Maybe, I don't know, Alex. Maybe we'll have to find a way to finish Emerald. we don't have the file anymore, but we'll have to find a way to do it.
We're just gonna have to start over. I'll have to pick up another Pokemon game in the meantime.
But maybe we'll put you in charge so that at that point it actually gets done. I'm not meaning to be rude. It's just like that's kind of the problem that happened. Is I got way too involved in other things, so we might as well just let you do it because you're the Pokemon master and I am the plebeian.
Okay.
So here's another one. Since you're a brand new crowned Resident Evil fan, Resident Evil 2, its U.S. release is celebrating an anniversary this year.
Very nice.
So at that point, it's going to be the 25th. We also have games like Devil May Cry 2 that is celebrating its 20th.
Oh my gosh!
We don't celebrate that one. We don't celebrate that one. Do you want to know what we do celebrate? The 15th anniversary of Devil May Cry 4.
Yay!
Yeah, that's the one we celebrate. The 5th anniversary of Dragon Ball FighterZ for all the Dragon Ball fans. The 15th anniversary for Super Smash Bros. Brawl.
Holy shit!
Wow.
Yep.
Smash Brawl, man, that's great.
Yep, that's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like when you actually think about it, it's kind of freaking ridiculous. Oh, but this is the other one that's going to get you guys. The 40th anniversary of the Mario Brothers Game & Watch games.
Wow.
Holy yeah, guys. The Game & Watch games are actually older than Mario itself. This is actually this is a legit thing, guys. I'm not lying about it.
I believe him.
Well, because he wasn't Mario at that point. He was Jumpman. But as far as our beloved Shigeru Miyamoto, he doesn't care. Like Mario is Jumpman. Jumpman is Mario. Oh, here's another one for Brenton because you're gonna love this.
I'm listening.
The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker is celebrating its 20th anniversary this year.
Very nice.
Oh my gosh!
Almost makes you want to go out and dig it out, huh? Before Tears of the Kingdom.
No, it's just making me realize my favorite game ever is 20 years old. And I played that when I was in junior high.
Mm-hmm.
It's that's a weird feeling.
It is a little bit. Sorry, I didn't mean to make you feel old, but you know. Oh,
well, that game has a lot of nostalgia for me. So, wow.
Do you want to know another game that has a lot of nostalgia for me? NBA Jam, which is celebrating its 30th anniversary. It's on fire! Gosh. Holy shit, right?
Yeah.
For Castlevania fans, Castlevania Aria of Sorrow, one of the best Metroidvanias that came out of the Game Boy Advance ones, is celebrating its 20th anniversary. Let's see, a couple of other ones that we have here. Silent Hill 3. Silent Hill fans rejoice. Silent Hill 3 is celebrating its 20th anniversary. So you have that as well. Whoa! Sorry, I had knocked the mic over. Grand Theft Auto fans rejoice. Grand Theft Auto 4 is celebrating its 15th anniversary. And there was actually another big fifth. Where is it? There was another big fifth one. Oh, Bayonetta 2 for Switch is also celebrating its 5th anniversary.
Fun.
Yeah, there you go. So we have that. Here's one that Alex the Shadow Blazer will like. The Shadow of the Colossus remake is celebrating its 5th anniversary.
Oh, very nice.
So there you go. So those are some of the games that were announced or that are celebrating anniversaries, but I didn't stop there. So let's talk about the anime that are going to be celebrating anniversaries this year. How about Sonic X?
Oh, wow.
I
Sonic
believe it's
X.
so these are all anime that are going to be turning 20 in 2023. So how about Sonic X? Oh, how about Dot Hack Legend of the Twilight?
Yeah.
Okay. How about Zatch Bell? How many people remember that show?
I do.
Okay. Do you remember this one? How about Bo 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 Bo?
God.
Oh my gosh.
20 years for the Fist of the Nose Hair. All right.
My lord.
Oh, here's another one that's going to make you feel old. Wolf's Reign is celebrating 20 years. Kenichiro Watanabe is probably shitting his pants right now. He's like, dude, I feel old. How about this one? Full Metal Alchemist, the 2003 version. 20 years. Holy shit. That's just blows my mind.
Adam, I didn't need to feel an existential crisis tonight, but thank you.
I wasn't actually trying for that, but I did actually like some of these anniversaries, so I did want to bring up some of them. And unfortunately, I'm not done there. Because I also went and looked up some movie anniversaries as well. And we're going to wrap up on that one. But these ones are going to be interesting to be able to go through. For example, Iron Man 3 is celebrating its 10th anniversary this year. How about Man of Steel, the original Man of Steel, celebrating 10 years? That kind of blows your mind. That's like their first foray into the live action Disney movies. Or sorry, the live action DC movies.
Mhm.
How about the original Iron Man celebrating 15 years? The one that started it all.
The one that kicked off the MCU.
Yes. That ought to blow your frickin' mind. How about the fact that we make fun of it so many times, but Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, celebrating 20 years. 20 years of the Terminatrix.
Dang.
Oh, it gets better. 20 years ago, we saw the debut of a little-known character you guys might know by the moniker of Captain Jack Sparrow. Curse of the Black Pearl, celebrating 20 years.
20 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Jeez.
it's kind of it blows my mind just reading some of these. How about one of my actual favorite movies to watch when I was a teenager? The Mask of Zorro is celebrating 25 years. Holy crap, right?
Oh, yeah, awesome.
Mm-hmm. How about Jurassic Park celebrating 30?
That's
The
a lot of
original
dinosaurs.
You know what, Alex? That might make the list this year.
Yeah.
The original Jurassic Park. I think it's worthwhile to do it.
Yeah.
How about The Nightmare Before Christmas celebrating 30 years?
Oh, classic.
Oh, we just barely had the sequel for this one come out last year. The original Hocus Pocus celebrates 30 years.
Yeah.
That ought to blow people's minds. Oh, and this is the one to end on it because this is only appropriate the original, the ultimate Christmas movie, Die Hard, is celebrating 35 years.
35 years.
35 years, alongside Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Nice.
Holy crap,
Jeez.
man. That's amazing. And no, I'm not done there because I actually do have one more. It is Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, celebrating 40 years. You know, the Muppet one. That I actually like that nobody else does. I get why, but I love it. It's a great movie. It's my favorite of the original trilogy. Well, as a kid. Now I tend to prefer Empire, but yeah, that was a good one way back in the day. Or here's another awesome one that maybe also would make our list. Celebrating 55 years, 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Very nice.
Oh my gosh. And then we also have I think this was the debut of the Sean Connery Bond, Dr. No, celebrating 60. He likes his women shaken, not stirred.
Oh my gosh.
At that point, we'll leave it on Sean Connery because he's such a great guy, or he's such a great memory of Hollywood. But yeah, so we've got a number of interesting anniversaries, and I'm going to encourage people in the comments below for YouTube as well as in the RSS feed, bring up an anniversary that you guys are excited about, because obviously I missed a ton of these. And there are even some game anniversaries in there that I really wish I could have mentioned, but really couldn't find a way to be able to do it. How about Mike Tyson's Punch-Out celebrating its 40th anniversary? So yeah, there you go. Like, or even the original Star Fox's Japanese release is celebrating its 30th. So yeah, there's plenty of stuff there. So I'm gonna go ahead and encourage you guys, leave your shit down in the comments and let's have that discussion about things that we're looking forward to celebrating in this coming year. And maybe some of these will actually make some of our additional podcasts. And really quick before we wrap things up, I do have a little bit of an announcement. So, in regards to the next Geek News movie night, I have thought long and hard about this, and I'm gonna play a bit of an executive decision here, and I don't think Brinton or Alex is gonna fight me on this. But our first movie of the year, I'm hoping to be able to do in the coming weeks, but we'll figure it out. We are going to do a dedication to Kazuki Takahashi, who, if you guys don't remember, lost his life while trying to save other people, and he is the mangaka who created a little-known series called Yu-Gi-Oh! So at that point, we were talking about this in a previous podcast, and I'm going to leave it up to you guys. What would you like to see? Would you guys, because we had a lot of good ideas there. We could cover a Yu-Gi-Oh! Movie, we could cover just one amazing duel within the series, or we could cover an entire arc. I'm going to bring it up to you guys because, believe it or not, YouTube actually did something smart in the last little bit and gave me access to some of their social media features. So we will be putting up polls on the YouTube channel, and you guys can let us know which of these you would like to see, and then we will pick some of the best duels or the best arcs, and you guys get to pick how we celebrate Yu-Gi-Oh! In honor of the late Kazuki Takahashi. And I don't know. I have also even thought about, in honor of Jason Frank, doing a watching of Green with Evil. Just because that 5-parter is fucking amazing. In terms of 90s storytelling. But I'll figure that out later. But look forward to that very soon. And if people want to be able to reach out to us to give their opinions on either anniversaries that they're looking forward to or the stories and opinions that we shared tonight, Alex the Shadow Blazer, how do they do that with you?
I'm on YouTube, Shadow Blazer 3000. It's my channel, and I do anime content for it.
All right. And Brinton Volley, how do they follow you aside from your personal answering service? I thought you'd like how I kind of whispered that out.
I mean, the fact now that I don't have to say it, I can be. You can all find me on Twitter at Chitore30. I don't post anything, so.
Oh, here's another big anime anniversary. Attack on Titan is celebrating 10 years. Like the original manga. That's kind of effed up, considering the anime hasn't even officially finished, and they're celebrating its 10th anniversary.
It's finished, actually.
No, the manga is finished, but there's a couple more episodes in the final season.
You might be right about that.
Yeah,
They
ended it at a halfway point because of all the stuff that has to be covered.
Right.
So at that point, 10 years of Attack on Titan. So all of the Attack on Titan fans can be excited. If people want to reach out to me, you can follow me on Twitter at GeekyNRO. You can also follow the podcast on Facebook, which is also under the tagline GeekyNRO. I haven't been updating things just because I've been rapidly trying to catch up to all the projects that I was already editing before peak hit. And now that I'm out of it and things are starting to mellow out at work, that's why you're actually seeing a bunch of these episodes coming out, like our review of Transformers the movie, which we literally recorded a couple of months ago, and I haven't been able to edit until now. So at that point, that's what's happening there. You guys can follow me on those and get those updates. But more importantly, please follow the podcast by supporting the RSS feed. It's where all of this stuff comes out first, and that is geekynro.libsyn.com. You can also get access to it via Amazon Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Player.fm, and I'm actually working things out for SoundCloud right now. So hopefully we'll have that up very soon, and you guys can get it at SoundCloud as well. Or you can also support the podcast on Twitter at the same headline, GeekyNRO. You can also support my main YouTube channel where this is on and be able to comment here and give your thoughts on the stories. Usually what we're doing with these podcasts is we're doing them once a month, so you can look forward to this happening next month for the wrap-up of February only, thankfully. And that'll be happening very soon. But that's going to go ahead and do it for us. So for myself, for Alex, for Brenton, by the way, thank you guys so much for joining me after a couple of months of absolute radio silence. I didn't mean to do that, but I was kind of busy in an Amazon van killing myself. So, but it's so good to be able to bring you guys back in here and be able to discuss these stories as well as maybe things to look forward to in the future. And on behalf of Brenton, Alex, and myself, we will see you guys next time for the next episode of Geek News, Reviews, and Opinions. Until then, have a good night or day, and just keep on geeking.